YouTube, Brian Phillips here. It's coming right now. This is the T-28 from Dynam. It has retracts, and look at the snow on the ground, everybody. I just want to show you these things working in case you're wondering. They do work.
It is cold.
The flaps work. We did our usual Dynam special on this, meaning we built it and we barely survived. Okay, throttle cuts off. We're using the 8C, whatever that is.
Gavin.
This is Gavin 8C, okay? So we're gonna taxi out and take off, hopefully under the power lines. The stabilizer is on right now, I believe. Take off flaps, here we go. 2200, 3S, whoa. She got off the ground easy.
Wow.
Need a lot of trim on the rudder. You see how much it's going to the...
Yeah.
That's not cool. I definitely have the controls going the right direction. Okay, here goes the gear. Oh, beautiful.
That's
that looked
nice.
really nice,
Yeah.
actually. Stabilizer's just a little bit heavy on the ailerons, and that's why you're seeing that waggle. Sorry about the sun. I got to go right through it for you. Okay, going in between us. You good?
Yep.
You guys see that waggle? I want to fix it, but there's full throttle. Looks nice in scale. I got my sunglasses on here. It's always scary putting your sunglasses on when you got a yaw issue like this because you're off the rudder. LEDs are showing up nicely. Can we go back to where we were on my last video? Thank you. All right, so we're gonna come in here. 50% throttle. I want to try to, you see it oscillating like that? Oh, it looks pretty over the snow. Okay, here come the gear. Take off flaps, landing flaps. Staying in the throttle. And touchdown. That was a really short landing, goodness gracious. Okay, so flaps are collapsed. Actually, we'll put them in takeoff, throttle cuts on, timer's not even set, so we're just gonna pretend like it's not an issue. Then I need to go into my, I wanna go into, guys, I don't know where the stuff is, so I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, so that's not where that is. Is that where it is? Where is that, hon?
What
Do you remember?
Looking for?
I'm looking for my, there we go, function set. Function set. I'm basically looking for the setting where I change my system set. Maybe it's under model parameter. Yeah, that must be where it is. Servo delay, airplane gyro. Okay, so you remember I was saying how the roll gain, angle gain, let's go to 15, and then the rate gain will go to 12. Okay, and then we'll exit out of there, and we're just gonna take right back off. Throttle cuts off. There's our takeoff flaps are dialed in, full throttle here. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. Got a little bit of roll I want to try to take out of there. Now I need a little bit of elevator to take out for some reason. You know what that elevator was? That was that I had my flaps down.
Oh.
I want to see if it oscillates now. That is really weird that it's rolling with a throttle tendency. Even more rudder there. There we go. That's going kind of straight. I think the roll's being induced by the rudder. Okay, here we go. You good? Okay, here we go. Beautiful. Well, it looks good in the sky, that's for sure.
It does.
I really kind of like the size of this controller a little bit better than the other one. The DT9. It's just a little bit bulkier in the hand. This one's a cheaper one, and it came with an 8-channel receiver. So guys, if you're looking to get into the hobby a little bit less money tied up, the Dynams are a great way to do that, but just keep in mind, they are, ooh, good green light. They are definitely more of a project plane coming under you here, hon. And what I mean by project plane is, I mean, you need to be a little bit committed to the build process. Otherwise, the frustration will probably be a little off-putting because you'll run into stupid little problems. But really, it's a good plane once you get it put together. This plane's actually doing great, although I've never flown a T-28 that I didn't love. Okay, going for a big loop. Come back around out of the throttle. It's very cold today. Rolls nicely. Trying to coordinate my turns. I did not set up a mix. I probably should have set up a mix of probably 20%, maybe a 15%. Beautiful that thing looks. I feel like our gains on the gyro are better, but not perfect. Giving myself a little bit of elevator down trim. Okay, that feels a little bit better. It's still kind of got that tendency to want to lift on me a little bit. Man, that's like a lot of trim there. Let's glide it here for a second. Okay, take off flaps. Look at that beautiful sunset, guys. Man, that is gorgeous. Let's get up there. Look at the snow coming down. Guys, that is just gorgeous. Man, let's get up there and show that sunset. That is just a glorious view. What do you think, camera crew? Look at that.
Can I make a comment about the stupid pole there?
No.
Okay. The sunset is super pretty though. I hope they can see the snow.
I know.
It just started snowing really lightly. It's really pretty.
A little bit more roll, I'm feeling. Man, look at the sun in that sight. That is so beautiful and cool.
The silhouette is cool.
You can see the sun through the clouds. We're gonna go back for another pass here. Get a little rudder to kick that nose over. Man, that is just beautiful. Okay. Well, the prop hasn't come off yet.
Oh man, why do you say that?
Guys, we've had our fair share of fun with Dynam. But to be honest with you, look at that thing. Up against the trees, it's just gorgeous. I love the red and white trim scheme. International orange is the color it's supposed to be. This one's more of a red, and that's okay too. I love the way it looks. I don't know if our battery is slipping or if this elevator is just kind of being a little weird. But let's go on the inside right next to our house for extra fun. Did you hear that noise?
Yeah.
Do you remember that noise the last time I lost a prop?
Yeah. And the time before that?
You're getting used to this, aren't you? Okay, full landing flaps. Gonna throw the gear. Camera crew, I need you to my left 3 steps, please. Staying in the power a little bit, getting away from the vampire killing zone. Let's bring it in for a final here. Staying in the power, staying in the power, staying in the power. Get here, get here. Oh yeah! Man, those flaps are really deflected downward, aren't they?
They are.
Okay, so let's check the prop. Throttle cuts on, tested, tested, tested. Well, there's no spinner to come off because there wasn't a spinner provided in mine. But I don't know if there's supposed to be a spinner, guys. It's getting pretty cold, but I'm gonna go ahead and go up again just because I'm a glutton for punishment. Camera crew, is it cold out here?
It is very cold.
Okay, here we go. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. Boy, it flies kind of nice and scale looking, doesn't it?
It does. I hope they can see the lights because the lights are good in person.
Yeah, they really are. You can really tell your orientation nicely. I was worried about that.
I don't know how well that's gonna pick up if it's dark enough.
Man, that is, it's kind of hard to beat a T-28. Now, how does this compare to the T-28 we just did the other day for a competitive line? Verizon Bobby might rhyme with that. How does it compare? I would say that that one is rock solid and it gives you everything you expect and more. And this one, it flies pretty dang good given the cost is better. You get flaps, you've got retracts. And boy, that T-28 does look good with the retracts up. Now that being said, by the time you buy your transmitter and you get this thing set up, man, look at that beautiful snow. Too bad it's so cold on my fingertips. Let's show them some upside down flight performance. It's kind of wonky upside down. There's a lot of elevator left. A lot of elevator to get you to fly upside down with. Okay, let's put some takeoff flaps here. Man, I love the way that looks out there. Doesn't it look so cool?
Yeah, it looks really good.
It's so fitting with that sunset and the beautiful snow. Here it is. We're going to have another beautiful Dynam video that just outperforms every other video that we've done in the last month. And yet we have not had a prop come off yet. I almost feel cheated, Dynam. One thing I can say too, these smart packs, this is a Gen 2 30C 3S 2200 all the way to the bulkhead. I did just a little teeny tiny mod to hold the battery tight with 2 chunks of foam. Full landing flaps coming out, gear coming down. Let's see if we can put it down in a short hurry. A little bit of throttle to keep her flying. Yeah, buddy. Ooh, that was bad. Not gonna end on that. Cannot. I have too much pride to let that happen. I do need to rotate my gear setting on that switch. Okay, into the gear. About 50% throttle here. You got to really get on it to keep it flying with those barn doors down. Okay, here we go. A little slick over there, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, take off flaps. We'll just make that a touch and go out of the gear. I think the gear door might actually be providing a little bit of a yaw tendency. That could be what's going on. Let's just see how she does out of the throttle. Nope, she ain't gonna make it. There you go, buddy. That was good. Now, thoughts on this plane? Okay, I can't handle it. My hands are about freezing. So we gotta call this good for now. We're gonna show you guys what the battery looks like. I really am happy with this thing. The stabilizer is easy to use, easy to make changes. It's a little bit different for me right now, so forgive me for not knowing where to navigate, when to navigate, and how to navigate through the menu structure, but it all exists. This thing uses just double A's. You'll see in the Unbox build and radio setup, camera crew, if you wouldn't mind.
Yep.
But as far as I can tell, this is a really solid plane. Does everything it should. It's definitely not quite to the echelon of the E-Flight version that was just released the other day. A lot more telemetry and things going on. But this is no schlub. It's got lights, it's got retracts, it's got flaps. Typically, that would be my criteria. But that 1.1 we just reviewed the other day had none of the 3. However, it came out of the box and it flew in like 20 minutes. And it flew gloriously. This thing flies good, but it's not as good. It still flies good. I would say this is a 7 out of 10 on performance level once you get it flying. I would say that one is a 9.5 out of 10. It is just perfect. But that being said, if the budget precludes you and you want the flaps, retracts, and LEDs, this one would be a good option. It really will be. Now that being said too, look at that battery where I've got it. A couple of different foam blocks here to hold it in place. And you see we glued that sucker in there. No problem at all. So let's get inside and put this on the XBC battery checker and we'll follow it up with that.
Yep.
All right, so a couple other things too. As you'll notice, the servos buzz. I don't know which one it is. I think it's the aileron. But you'll have that a little bit with these Dynams. If you really want them to last forever, then you may be a little bit disappointed. What I would recommend doing is isolate the one that's buzzing and just make sure it's not maxed out. If it buzzes just because it's kind of in between spots, that's fine. Okay, so we got 22% left. That's a pretty good flight time. And guys, don't discount the fact that it is probably a whopping 5 degrees, if not less. It's probably closer to 0 by now. It has been very cold and we really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. We've had a lot of footage that we got in the can quickly, and we were really, really shooting hard for very short windows of time. You'll notice we have gloves on. These are actually double gloved, and it's everything we can do to survive the filming. But this weekend, it's gonna be glorious. We're gonna have a heat wave. It's gonna be so huge, 30 degrees, which by the way, doesn't sound too bad, except that that's 55 degrees warmer. Excuse me, that's 57 degrees warmer than it was yesterday morning. Yes. So 57 degrees, normally you're putting shorts on.
Well,
in our case,
you are.
We're gonna be filming if the weather's good. So I can't wait, and we hope you'll come back for more. This Dynam, I would say that it is definitely a go. It is a good plane. It's not overly crazy frustrating to build, but it is definitely no Horizon model. It's better than the average Dynam that we've been flying lately in terms of going together, and it flies well once you get it up in the air. So I don't think they undersized anything. The retracts work great for us, and it's cold out there. So something to keep in mind if you have it sitting in your cold vehicle for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or half a day before you fly, you may have different results. In our case, it's in this warm structure, and then we go out and we fly and everything is hunky-dory. But I would say this is definitely an all right option. Stick around for the build if you want to see the struggles that we had and laugh and point at us. So guys, if you're wanting to buy this thing, help us out. Look in the description below. Follow the link. You'll be helping support the channel, and you'll help us, mostly the camera crew, to not mutiny. And you'll be able to see more of the builds and radio setup and flights of the Dynams, as well as other brands. But for the moment, this is a pretty good one, guys. If you're looking to get into a Dynam, this one would definitely be worth a serious consideration. So that being said, the B26 that we did the other day and the Messerschmitt 262 were both good planes once we were done with the very frustrating builds. So follow the links below. Get the plug and fly if you want the absolute best experience, because then you can have the receiver that you're used to. But we will link in the videos, in the initial videos, we're gonna link to the Smart Ready to Fly, the bind and play, and then the plug and play. So normally when you look even further down the list, we're gonna have links to all of them as plug and flies. And then you can pick whatever receiver combination you want. But this actually turned out pretty good. And like I said, the only thing I don't like about this is the 4 AA's, which it did seem to chew through these. These are like the cheapest batteries that you can buy online. So maybe they have a super low milliamp hour. So they just wear out quick and they're just cheap because of that. If you got a good Duracell in there, or, you know, Energy, or what other brand? Energizer, yeah. Or if you did something like that, you'd probably get twice the life out of them.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a little disappointing that they don't have a rechargeable in there. But beyond that, it fits good in the hand. The sticks felt good. The trimming was easy to get to. I didn't have any issues with it at all. In fact, it was just about as good as using the DT9, but it's a little bit cheaper. So if you're looking for something that's a little more entry level, and these Gen 2 packs have been excellent so far. We haven't had any problems whatsoever. They've been running like crazy. In this cold, I'd be lying if I told you that they work perfectly, because I don't know. I haven't had a basis for comparison yet, just because they were released and it's been cold ever since they were released. So that being said, if we get into the warm weather and we experience a lot longer flight times, as far as I'm concerned, that's a net win, because if they are, you know, working really good in the cold, they're going to work better in the warm. So, any other thoughts, camera crew?
Nope.
Other than check the link for the,
yeah,
so they can follow and buy.
And if you're gonna buy it and you want to see what issues may come up or where we had problems,
stick around. It'll be right after this. YouTube, Brian Phillips here. We're gonna cut this box open. You already know what it is. We did a competitive brand recently, and it was really good, so we're gonna see how this goes. We keep coming back to the trough for more.
We haven't figured this out yet.
Okay, so it's one of these two planes. I wonder which one.
Oh, interesting.
That's a little strange.
Still
which one
know.
was it?
We still don't know.
Oh, geez.
It says it on the front.
It's got both on the same box. Okie dokie.
Maybe it's both.
That would be a little bit weird. So if you haven't figured out, this is a Dynam. It's supposed to be a T-28. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see if it's actually a T-28 or if it's a Spitfire. I'm kind of a sucker for the T-28, so I'm hoping it performs well. We are gonna use probably this 8-channel Gavin receiver, which is from Decals. It's got an 8-channel receiver in this package deal. And then we also have a 6-channel here that's got a 6-channel sport receiver in it as well. And I believe that's the same receiver that's coming in a lot of the plug and flies. Okay, so we're just gonna start by unboxing. Obviously we have retracts on there, nice black hard plastic it looks like. Let's go ahead and get these out of the bags. Dynam packs their stuff a lot different than any other manufacturer that we've dealt with. Virtually every manufacturer has foam on foam, but Dynam does boxes. I don't know why that is, but they do. So
We haven't had issues.
no, we had a couple that had damage though.
A little bit.
Yeah, a couple that had damage on the wings.
We did, yeah.
But they were really minor damage. It was like, you know, like a dent.
Yeah.
Okay, so this red is actually red. That's supposed to be more like an orange, I believe, on the Navy livery. The wheels look like typical Dynam retracts. Looks like we'll have a spot to put screws in. Just making sure those are lined up properly. No canopy. Why would that be glued on for us? Okay, it looks like we got an XT60 on the battery wire, which is here. Instantly control rods, look like there's glue on them. That's not good. We'll have to deal with that at some point. Hopefully they didn't get glue into the actual rod, because that makes it really difficult to work with. This battery wire is dropped down between the servos for some reason, and it should be up here where the battery is going to go. So I'm just going to pull that up now. XT60. Okay, so that should work with the IC3 connectors that I have on most of my current batteries. Got a little bit of glue here. Let's see if I can get that peeled off of there actually. Just a little bit of glue seeped out, it looks like, when they put that together. Magnetically held on hatch. Okay, there's going to be some pilots, and judging from what they look like on the box, they will not be installed because they were really uggo. So I'm going to have to wait and see. Oh, and it looks like the T-28's available in red and yellow. So I guess given that this is actually red, I would have probably opted for yellow. It's got Navy stickers, which is pretty cool. I don't know what TPS is supposed to mean. So
There is a light here. Did you see that?
oh, there's a light on it. Cool. I wonder if it's a beacon, a red beacon. Typical Dynam instructions. These will probably be somewhat useless, but we'll see. Got control throws here. A little electrical diagram, block diagram, kind of shows where things plug in, depending on what you've got. Center of gravity is marked as 80 to 85 back from the leading edge of the innermost portion of the wing root. Shows some of the decal markings, it looks like. Okay, so, oh, it says TPS on the tail. That's where that's supposed to go. Huh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep working.
At least we don't feel bad about not following those instructions.
Yeah, right, exactly. There is a hole in the end of this. This box has a hole in it. Show the people on that end. Look at that.
Oh.
I wonder if that was from the motor.
I'm guessing so.
Yeah, I don't know what else would have pierced through the box. Let's double check that actually while we're thinking about it. Oh, it's got nice, strong motor. See how strong the magnets are? Mm-hmm. That's a good sign. Very good sign. The cowling is glued in really nicely. Mm-hmm. In fact, the cowl looks really well finished. I'm a little bit bummed about the red because that is supposed to be orange. Mm-hmm. It's called International Orange. It's like the Dukes of Hazzard car is International Orange. I found this out when I was trying to touch up a T-28 once. So it was one of those things that you learn once and you don't have to learn twice. Okay, so we're gonna open this. Looks like that was taped twice. That's always a bad sign. Okay, we got a wing, big, huge flaps on it, installed servos, black covers for the gear doors. It's kind of weird. Black. It's on a white wing. Maybe the decal's gonna cover it up.
Probably
Does
not.
it look like the decal's gonna cover it? There are LEDs in these wings. That's pretty cool. So we'll see how they look.
That's not going to get covered up because it's on the picture on the box.
Oh, the black is? Okay. Well, it's not the end of the world, although you would think that they would have used white. Oh, you know why they must have gone with black? so they could use the same thing on both models.
Oh.
Because the other one's yellow.
Hey, it looks like not a 9-gram servo.
Those are 9-gram servos.
They are.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. That's an appropriate servo size for that control surface. Still a pretty big control surface.
Yeah.
The wing looks nice. I don't have any problem at all with it.
The red paint, I mean, I know it's not quite right, but it looks nice.
Well, and it matches. So as long as it matches, it's not really that critical to me. If you're going for a super scale finish, then sometimes Dynam, they do some of the weirder planes, like the B-26, not a super popular bomber in terms of model aircraft at least, but they've done the B-26 and we just reviewed that here recently. Foam pinch hinge, not reinforced that I can tell. Looks like my new thing that I'm gonna check on Dynams is that these screws actually line up. And I am impressed so far on this plane. Everything looks to screw together, which is really good. Yeah. And as the words were coming out of my mouth, I realized this one looks like it's probably gonna take glue right there. But that's a nice tight fit, good tight seams. I'm liking the way things look like it's fitting so far.
The tail's gonna go over the top and screw together.
Yeah, so maybe it won't actually be glued in. Maybe it just sits in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that's really super nice with the Dynams is that they give you all the specifications for programming the ESC. If you're looking for that, it's right here and it says programming the ESC with the transmitter. And it gives you the beep, 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 and it tells you how to change things. Okay, so that's really handy if you need that at some point. All right, so all the pieces are out.
No, well.
Oh, I've got one more small box.
Yep.
Okay, so the rest of the wing, let's cut this one out and just make sure there's nothing. I can't tell what color the wingtip lights are. They're supposed to be red and green.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't ever heard, it's red is right returning. And that's true for boats and airplanes. And anybody that's marking their vehicles with red and green nav lights. Everything looks pretty solid. I'm really pleased with everything. It's all tight. It's all put together nicely. I mean, of course, you're not going to get the same finish as some of the more expensive models, but this one's nice and smooth. Mm-hmm. And then where they've got these covers, they're glued flat. So that's a good thing. And then also always check the control surface hinge points, because we've noticed that tends to be a bit of a problem on the Dynams from time to time. If you get one that's not glued, just glue it, which kind of goes without saying. Okay, joiner. Not super strong, but it'll be fine for this real low wing loading on this plane. All right, we can finally see the pilots. The pilots are literally in the cockpit already. And the canopy was shipped in a bag loose with everything else, so that's really, really not cool. Like, did that have to all come together in the same bag? That's actually well cut. There's lots of little rub marks on it. Not from this, I don't even think, actually. I can't tell if there's a liner on this right now. Nope, it's just plastic. So that's actually gonna look pretty good though. That's a nice cut. That's gonna look nice. And then did we get an instrument cluster? It's weird.
Oh,
Pilot's not too bad.
No.
Is that the same pilot that's in that picture?
No, these guys look super weird. And they're like 2 different colors.
Wait, don't speak too soon.
Oh, sorry.
Look. What the heck happened here? It's like, is this like his kid? Is he going for a ride with dad? Or is it just like pilot choice time?
But that doesn't even fit.
Well, yeah, it does. Yeah, it fits. We could just imagine what it'd be like if we did.
Can we just do one pilot?
Yeah, probably. I'm just not sure which one I like worse.
Do we need to Google it? And
No.
see if there's a...
We could also just leave the pilots out. I mean, the instrument clusters are good.
Yeah.
They look exactly the same. Then we've got the no steps. Okay, and then we got our light controller here. That's, of course, for the LEDs. And it looks like they gave us a split cable here. There's 2 of them, actually. One probably for landing gear. Oh, there's actually 3 Y cables for servo signal splitters. And then this is for the lights. They gave us an extra splitter for the lights. And then this thing has CA in it. Okay. Oh, I guess I'm not sure what to do on the canopy. I'm not sure what's the best approach on that. I think right now, my initial thoughts are just leave the pilots out if we're not totally satisfied with them. Unless, of course, it's going to cause problems for CG. Because one of the pilots sits in front of the CG, the other pilot probably sits just right behind the CG.
Yeah.
Okay, so it comes with a 3-bladed prop. Trying to see if it's marked somewhere. Yes, this one is an 1107-3. 11.7. So it's an 11-inch by 7-inch of pitch, 3-bladed. So that looks totally fine. And then there's another bag with some more glue, some extra control horns. Looks like the nut for the to attach the propeller. And then where's the spinner? Have we seen a spinner yet?
I don't think there is a spinner.
There is a cap, isn't there?
It's really hard to tell from
Why don't you point the camera over there where you're looking?
picture. Oh.
There's a cap. I just don't know. I don't see it in anything yet. So that's what makes me concerned, is that, did it come off somewhere?
Is that box empty over there?
That's a good point. See this, guys? Look, there's kind of a hole down here. Nothing fell out, but you can see here, the motor was hitting this exterior box, but it never actually made it all the way out. So I'm not sure.
And that box is empty?
That's an acorn nut.
Because,
I don't see an acorn nut anywhere.
but wait, are the ESCs already installed?
There's one ESC, and yes.
Oh, it was in there?
Yeah, the tail's not glued yet, so. Oh, there is a magnet on here. Maybe? Or is it just glued? I can't tell yet. That's glued, I believe. The cowl is glued. So yeah, I don't know. Did it just come off in shipping? I'm not sure. I definitely can see where the bag where I would have put it if I was shipping it. It would have gone in here with this.
Right.
Ironically enough, I actually probably do have an acorn nut that would fit on there, but I'm not sure if I have the right thread count, pitch, and whether it's metric or standard is yet to be determined. That just looks like a prop adapter. So maybe we'll get lucky and we can just use that. Also, my prop looks a little different than the picture on the box. See this? Why is that written backward? 710.
It's all backwards.
It is? Oh, they must have mirrored the image.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, my prop doesn't have the yellow tips and it doesn't say Dynam on it. I wonder if they must have changed their design a little bit. They do give you one Dynam sticker here, so you can put that on the prop, but it's not the same as what you see in that. Okay, well, without further ado, looks like we're getting into a standard Dynam build, so we're gonna go ahead and come back with the assembly right away. All right, YouTube, so we're gonna start with the assembly. I have decided that the two pilots, this pilot's obviously supposed to go up front because they have fit the pilot into the foam here. Okay, I think that pilot's gonna look really dumb in there because I think the pilot is just too big. So if the pilot were back here, maybe I could tolerate it, but I'm gonna actually put the smaller pilot in up front and I'm gonna leave the second pilot out. And then that's the way the pilot's gonna look, which I feel like that looks pretty good. Okay, even though I think this pilot looks nice, it's too big, like it's the wrong scale, so I'm not even gonna bother with it. So the first thing I gotta do is actually put these instrument panels in. So don't forget that if you're getting ready to do this. Don't forget your instrument clusters. They are the same for the front and the back. At least it sure looks like they're the same. Oops. We'll just throw that aside. I really like the instrument clusters. It really dresses up a plane, and it's a super easy thing to do. I'm not crazy about the fact that that was gouged out really rough. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to straighten up the edge, because that will be seen. If it wasn't going to be seen, I probably wouldn't care, but you will see it. So I'm just going to come in here and clean that up with a reasonably sharp X-Acto knife blade. As you can see, my X-Acto knife is not as sharp as I'd hoped it would be. I have more X-Acto knife blades too. Just really too lazy to go get them. I probably have 100 of them. Just all I'm trying to do is just get that so it doesn't look quite so gouged out. And I don't think I've really accomplished much of anything here. So I'm gonna have to go just a little bit more material out of there to get to a point where it's clean. So before it gets dark, should we show the people the blizzard that's going on outside?
I can show them.
Yeah, I think you should just show them from the front door because it's still open. It's about to get dark, so.
It is getting dark.
We've had
snow with snow on top of snow.
I cleared the driveway 6 times last weekend.
Yep.
And we still managed to film a video.
And it is windy right now, but most of the snow now at least is frozen on top, so it doesn't keep, it's not blowing all over the place again.
It was blowing all over the place from across the yard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been extremely cold too. The polar vortex that's going across the country right now from Canada. Thank you, Canada.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's making it extremely cold, and in not like a little bit cold, we're experiencing record lows. And so it's making it really hard to fly. Like last weekend, we flew 2 minutes outside, and well, not 2 minutes. We flew 2 flights, and I think we were outside a grand total of maybe 7 minutes, and it was below 0 the whole time in the middle of the day.
Yep.
So not very fun flying weather, guys. But the good news is, if you're building a Dynam, by the time you're done, it might be warm.
Be nice again. Yeah,
okay, so
our high for tomorrow is like -4.
So we've got that trimmed, so maybe
that's better.
It looks slightly better.
Yeah.
I don't want to put him here. I want to put him back.
In the back.
So he's like up against the backrest.
Okay.
Okay, so I got some more Dynam glue here that interestingly came from, I can't remember which plane. We're getting to have quite the surplus now though, which is good because the funny thing is we had one of the Dynam planes we did and we used a ton of glue from another plane. Okay, so we'll just do this. And we'll do that. We'll just do a little bit of both and just get that spread all around. Obviously, we don't want to get a bunch up in the hole. I mean, it's always fun to get in the hole, but just not, you know,
not glue.
Not glue. No. That's not healthy. Okay, so right there. So we're just going to stick him down, and then we're going to lift him up. Then we're going to stick him down, and we're going to lift him up. And the best thing you can do to make that really stick would be to let it dry for a little bit, and that's going to start activating the glue. Okay, so unfortunately for us, we have to wait for that to happen before we can actually start gluing the canopy. So what we'll do is we'll start getting the glue on, and I'm just going to talk to you for a minute about this. This is Formula 560. I spent $4.29 on this one bottle. I've had one bottle the entire time I've been doing radio-controlled airplanes. Now, when I was a kid, I may have had something similar when I was doing radio-controlled cars and things like this. But I mean, it's like an investment. It's like a once-in-a-lifetime investment. So just buy that. Don't use the crappy CA that they include because you're going to have a bad outcome. You'll be like, Brian, how come my canopy looks bad? And I'll be like, well, did you use the 550 canopy glue? No. This is the stuff you want to use. It does really work good. It's superior. Ooh, yeah. Nice and chunky that time. That was good. So I'm just going to put a bead around here. And yes, this stuff does dry clear, crystal clear, according to instructions. And it really does. It really does dry crystal clear. If it's not crystal clear yet, just wait longer, okay? You see the China glue, the contact cement, it's not totally crystal clear, but it's mostly clear. So I guess honestly, if you're not gonna use crystal clear Formula 560 glue like this, just use the China glue. Don't use the CA. The CA will work horrible for this.
Oh, just use the actual China glue.
Yeah, or hot glue. Hot glue is probably a better option, to be honest. Okay. Okay, so you can see we got a nice bead going there. So we're just gonna let that sit for a second. And our contact adhesive is probably good. It's probably set up enough. Just so you guys know, my cover is cracked and it hasn't actually dried out yet. So that's always handy. Okay, so this stuff is set up a little bit more. Not as long as I would. Oh yeah, see, it's already strong enough to pick up the whole piece. So that's good enough for what we're doing. That was surprisingly easy. Okay, so we'll just leave Pilot Joe there, or whatever his name is. Yeah, actually that could be
Pilot Jane.
I was just gonna say, well, Joe is also a chick's name.
True.
So it could be Pilot Joe.
Yeah.
Either way.
Whatever you prefer.
That's right. So I'm gonna stick this here, drag it into the glue. This is where I'm gonna get a little bit tricky. I'm gonna push my finger here, and then I'm gonna try to fold this down. You see what's happening to the canopy? As I let it down, it's allowed to relax into the glue instead of pushing it all out. There's gonna be some seepage. So when you do this, if you think about it in advance, which of course I didn't, you can get a paper towel so that it's handy. And you can get one that's dry and one that's a little bit damp, and it'll help you to clean up that little teeny bit of glue. This stuff does wash up more or less good with water, in my experience. But you can see that little bit of glue that came out. It's not really a big deal. Okay, so now we've got the Pilot in there. So I'm just gonna come up in here with a wet rag and just take that little bit extra out. We'll do that a couple of times until we have that little area situated. Okay. And remember, it dries clear, so you don't have to have it perfect. You just have to have it so it's smooth, okay? And it really will dry clear, so you won't be able to tell. And even if it doesn't dry totally clear, believe me, it's not gonna matter.
Nope.
So you can see that there's a little bit of seepage here too. How do we feel about seepage, camera crew?
Oh, it's not ideal for sure.
Yeah. We like to wipe up the seepage. Okay, here we go. So you see how it's gapping? That gapping is not cool. I'm not into that. So here's what I'm gonna do to resolve that. Take some tape, and I'm gonna stick it down. I'm gonna fold the tip like this, so I can peel that off easy later, okay? So I'm just gonna stick this down, and then I'm just gonna stick it like this. And I'm not gonna mess with it. And then I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same exact thing.
And if that was painted, you would not be doing that.
I would never do that on a painted surface. I would not do that on a painted surface because I don't care how high a quality painter's tape you've got. If it's high enough quality, it's not gonna stick. If it's low enough quality, it's gonna stick, and it's gonna take every last bit of residual paint that you've ever seen on that model in the history of time. And then more. Look at this. I got some seepage here. That's always fun. Seeped all the way. It seeped so much it's coming out the middle.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. That's crazy.
A little excessive.
No kidding. So I'm just gonna work that until it gets out of there. Okay, so that should be no big deal because it'll just dry a little bit. And then we'll just take that off after half an hour, 40 minutes, or whatever it takes for it to set up. Okay, so we can kind of put that aside. That looks pretty satisfactory, I would say. I'd like it to be black like it is in the picture, but this is definitely not black like it is in the picture.
No.
So again, not a big deal, but it's definitely, you know what you're gonna get because you saw it here on Brian Phillips RC, not because you saw it on the Dynam box. Typical Dynam. Okay, so without further ado, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to the assembly of the plane. Now the instructions are about as clear as mud, as typical. So what I'm gonna do is actually, I wanna put this somewhere where if there is a little bit of drip of glue, it's not gonna be a problem. So I'll just stick it on top of the decals because they're plastic and it won't hurt anything then. The glue, of course, would be clear when it dries. So I'm just gonna throw the nose of this on this plane stand and rest it like so. Then the instructions do not call for glue here. They don't call for anything because they don't say anything. So, and I'm just gonna go ahead and use my better judgment and glue it. And glue it a little bit here. And once we get that glue down, then I'm gonna grab my glue spreading apparatus, also known as a Q-tip. I'm just gonna spread it like this. Pretty simple stuff. It's not gonna be super hard to glue. It's not gonna be super hard to press in. I am gonna probably put it in before it's had a chance to fully cook off, because if it's cooked off totally, you won't be able to slide it in there. Okay? So I'm just gonna work the corners. That's where you're gonna get most of your contact, and then the flats on the sides. You may not actually touch the bottom, so you gotta be a little bit careful to get it up on the sides. And then just probably a little bit here, just because you will get some contact area there on this spot. Okay, cool, so that's gonna make that super strong. Okay, and we do have to put in control horns. So while that cooks off for a minute, we'll go ahead and glue these in. Now, there weren't any backers on this, so this is super easy to put in. I must say, this build, I'm gonna jinx this now. I know, it's going super smooth.
Great. I quit.
Exactly.
I'm done, I'm out.
The camera crew and I have had, what's the best way of explaining? Nothing but trouble? Putting together the Dynam planes. Now that's not to say that they're bad planes, it's just that they're project planes. And it's really hard to film a project plane. If you guys get a project plane and you see that we're frustrated about it, that's because we're filming it for 5 hours. If you're building a plane for 5 hours, you know, it's really not like a big deal. We all, I mean, the guys that are watching this, guys and gals that are watching this, we all enjoy doing that to a certain extent.
Right.
We just don't necessarily want it to take 5 hours, but is it the end of the world? Not really.
And if you're listening to the radio or watching a YouTube video, having a beverage, like, yeah, it's not so bad.
But when you're like standing there watching somebody beat their head against the wall for 5 hours.
It gets a little.
Okay, so that went in there perfectly fine. Okay, absolutely no issues. The control horn is installed. So while we get ready for the next step, I'm thinking about this control horn too.
Okay.
So coming back to the point I was trying to make is that even though the Dynams are kind of a pain to put together, there's been a couple that have turned out really nice. And then there's been a couple that have turned out less than nice. Now, the reason they turned out less than nice is because I tried to show them stock. And to be honest with you, if you're reviewing these planes and you have to modify it to make it fly, that's not really a great review, because I want you guys to see the way that it's gonna work. And then we might add some features to it just to kind of improve the performance, but I still want you to see what it's gonna be like. I mean, our goal here is not to get you to buy this plane. Our goal is to help you make your RC, you know, spending choices wisely. And that's just part of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to teach you guys, we're trying to enjoy the experience with you. We're trying to help answer questions for those people that are getting back into the hobby and all these good things. And so when we come in and do a Dynam, it's not like we're saying this is the only model out there, and if we do a Horizon, it's not the only one that's out there, or if we do some Banggood, you know, Ishin or XK or whatever it happens to be. We're not ever really trying to say this is the best one, buy it. We're just trying to say, this is an option. If you like it, buy it.
Yeah.
You know, so we're not trying to sell you guys a ketchup popsicle with your white gloves. I mean, it's just, that's not what we're doing here. We just want to show you what they're about, and then you can make up your own mind. I think I want to glue this.
Oh, okay.
Do you see that? That foam sticks into this little slot here.
Oh, yeah.
And so even though there's 2 screws that are, hey, you know what? Let's be smart fellers today.
Yeah.
Let's be smart fellers. Which screws are supposed to go in here?
Okay, so those should be 2.3 by 20 millimeter screws.
Okay, so do we have anything like convenient that we could use to measure? Do we have like something that's extremely inexpensive?
The cheapest thing
that's
I can possibly
really ugly.
find.
It's like a weird, oh, that thing.
These?
Yeah, it's a weird hue of green. All right, so how long were those, 20?
20.
Okay, so the way you tell is 2.3 is the size of the shaft. That's a little bit longer than 20.
Well, which pile
the
did you-
threaded part is actually 20. The threaded part is 20, okay? Whoops. These are some crappy calipers.
Are there 2 screws in the stabilizer?
There's 2.
Okay.
Why?
Because there's this one that's a similar length, but there's only one of those.
No, that's way longer. That's 20, probably 3.
Yeah.
Look.
It's got to be that one.
See this? This is what I'm doing. I'm making sure that they start. Why would you do that, Brian? Well, I could tell you a little story, but you've already watched the 5-hour-long video.
But that goes back to the whole Dynam thing. It's not the whole thing. It's like
one
or
detail,
2 things on
or
each
one
plane.
servo,
Yes.
or like one linkage, or one. And it's like, seriously,
Yeah.
get your crap together. It's one thing, you know?
Yeah.
So when you watch Brian Phillips RC and you see that it's going to be a 5-hour video, and you're collecting your peanut butter M&Ms and popcorn or whatever it is you eat for 5.5 hours, whatever you're collecting, your toilet paper, whatever it is you're collecting that you need, just think, good Lordy Lord, if it was 5.5 hours finished, then that means it was even longer in real life.
Yep.
So my poor camera crew.
Yep. You can send me your peanut butter M&Ms.
Yes, exactly. So that being said, we don't mean to misrepresent anything more positive or more negative than it really is, because we're just trying to bring you the real no BS experience, and the no BS experience sometimes is a little bit painful. I'm gluing this because I feel like, you know, there's glue opened and there's a hole I can stick it in, and if I can stick it in and spray some sticky stuff in there, I'm going to do it.
I know.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Can I say I told you so later?
You told me what? About the glue?
If we have a problem.
No, because if we have a problem, I'm going to leave it glued. I'm going to leave those screws embedded in there.
Oh, okay. I'm good with that.
This is one comment. See, you guys don't think it. I know you do. Because you're like, well, I told you that one time on that one video, Brian. And I'm like, yeah, you and 1,000 other people. I actually do listen to your comments and I reply to them. You probably have noticed. But the thing is, just because I don't do it doesn't mean I'm not thinking it too. I'm just too lazy. All right, so there's that. So we got a little bit of glue in there. That's what? Slathering it around, huh? So what we're going to do is we're going to slop this in here. Now, I could actually, you know what? We're just getting this.
If you're going to do it, you might as well
just
do it all the way.
get everywhere. I'm just going to glue it because here's the thing, guys. I'm just learning from my experience. And we're trying to teach all the noobs kind of the same thing. You just learn from your experience when you're learning to be a pilot, a radio controlled pilot, or otherwise, I suppose. I can't speak to anything else because I'm only a radio controlled pilot. You do it just like anything else. It's practice makes perseverance. You're going to spend some time making some mistakes, and you need to learn from each and every one of them, and that goes for building too and repairs. And every time that you make a mistake, the only time that you've really failed is if you hit your eyeballs, and then you can't fly anymore. So don't do that. And then secondarily, if what doesn't kill you makes you potentially a better pilot. So I say that in all seriousness, if it doesn't kill you, then you need to get experience from every time you make a mistake and cause a crash or you run into a tree or yourself or whatever. Just learn from it. It's not like you have to hang your head low or something. You may have to do that because of the cast, but well, that looks pretty good actually.
It does.
Looks good. Maybe we should screw it now.
Maybe.
Well, hey, there's a light down here too. Wow.
Oh, cool.
Boy, that's pretty cool. I'm excited.
Which one's going to be the weird flashing one?
Well, I'm thinking that the demons, well, no, those should both be red anti-crash beacons.
Huh. Well,
yeah.
We'll find out, I guess.
True. Truly.
Well, and we don't want to make a video that's 15 minutes long and be like, here, look what we made. And then it takes you 5 hours to build it. And then
Hi,
you're
this
like,
is
why
Brian
didn't no
Phillips,
one tell
RC.
me?
It's only been 15 minutes, we promise. It'll be just like that.
Like, we struggle too, and we've done a few plane builds. I don't even want to look. I'll just hold still and tell me when you're done.
Don't worry, I didn't get any glue in there.
Oh, jeez.
I know that sounds horrible. My camera crew is cringing, and do you want to know why? Because the last time that I struggled with this, it went a little something like this. And I'm going to just try something different this time. I'm going to try to go in from the bottom so that the screwdriver, the other thing fell out.
That's our littlest cat. She's the only one that sleeps in the little hammock. It's her special spot. Okay, I'm back to the plane.
You missed. You missed me inserting it.
Oh.
There's lots of really disappointed people
Sorry.
right now.
They want more cats.
Dang it!
So, see, we get to watch again.
There's two. The other one fell out. Don't look too close because there's lots of crap on the ground. Because somebody didn't clean the floor.
4 children.
That's true.
Who all ate lunch right there at those bar stools.
Only 4 today, huh?
Only 4. And 3 cats. And you. So it's like 9.
Cats are funny too because, you know, if you get a dog, you're like, oh, I dropped some ice cream on the floor. Oh, no big deal. Dog will get it. Oh, I dropped some steak on the floor. No big deal. Dog will get it. Oh, I dropped virtually anything on the floor. No big deal. Dog will get it.
Yep.
You make a steak for a cat, and you season it perfectly, and you put it on the ground, and then you slice it into perfect slices, bite-sized slices, and they come up and smell it, and then they walk away.
And then I pick it up off the floor 40 minutes later.
That's the way it goes.
Are you missing a screw?
I have a screw right here.
Oh, okay.
You know where I don't have a screw?
In that hole?
No, I don't have a screw in the plastic receiver. Oh my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Oh, it's not impossible that I actually got it started.
Did the front one go in?
Hey, I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
It's a personal problem.
I was wondering why we're doing that from the squatting position.
Well, I don't know, but if it didn't go in, it's glued.
Oh, I'm.
That's
probably fine with
literally,
it either
I'm
way.
not going to fight this for 3 hours like last time. Oh, that did not work. I can see the screw right here.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely not right. See the screw, guys? See where it is?
It's totally not even pointed the right direction.
The screw isn't. I just don't understand. How is it so hard to get the screw to go into the hole? Hey, if you're wanting to film this event, you should probably put it on the right side of the plane there, camera crew. See what's going on? So, do you remember a couple planes ago how I was complaining that they didn't have us use screws to put everything together? Mm-hmm. I think this is what I get.
Spoke too soon.
Look where the screw is. Can you give them a shot inside of there? Is that possible?
Yeah.
You guys see what's going on? It didn't come out. And this one's also sort of stuck, but sort of not. Ooh, ooh. Did that one start? And then all the glue gets picked up on the... That's the glue from the factory, not my glue that I put on the top. See, it pulls the glue out from those two halves of the fuselage. Okay, so I think that one's in there okay. This one's just not. Oh, for the love of Pete. I'm just trying to get this one to come out so I can try to align it. So 15 minutes later, we should be done with this. All right, we're gonna pause it and fight this. So I have a new idea. I'm gonna try to like pull this tail section and just line it up to where that screw is going, okay? Just to see what happens, okay? So you see I got it lined up. Now I'm gonna start to twist it. See how it's pulling it down? Mm-hmm.
So you pulled the red tail section over so that it was lined up with where the screw was only going to go until you got it started, and then it sucked it all together.
Look at all that glue.
That's lovely.
So now the front one did seem like it was somewhat aligned. So Dynam, if you're watching this and you want to fix this in the manufacturing process, it's called a jig. And what you do is you take your jig and you build your halves of your wing. You've got your plastic thing that's inserted in there. And instead of just gluing it and throwing it into your done bin, you take a jig and you stick the jig in there, and then that jig keeps those aligned when the glue is setting.
So they don't just get wonky while they're drying.
Yeah, that's probably what's happening. Because this China glue is like a contact adhesive, and so it takes a little bit of time for it to cook off. You think at the factory they're sitting there letting it cook off?
No.
Yeah, no, they're not doing any of that. So anyway, so this screw is the same thing. So if you imagine the plastic that it's lined up through like this, it's got a flat piece of plastic and then it's got a cylinder and the screw slides through it. And then over here, there's another cylinder that's part of the rudder, or excuse me, the vertical tail surface, and they go like this. Screw's supposed to slide through and then start biting and pulling together. Well, this one is like that. So the screw goes in like this. How are you supposed to align the tip of the screw to get it started? Now, if you jank it over here and you get it aligned, it'll suck tight like that. And then the prevailing force is the strength of this whole assembly. So it's going to pull it to the center.
And also glue it together.
Glue it as your backup plan. But this one might line up. This one's doing, I feel like it's biting, but it's really hard to tell until it's like you're 3 hours into the video. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, guys, the couple of different, and they really are small details, can take a 0 to hero or a hero to 0. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happens a lot with some of these planes. And I'm not claiming to be able to do it better, but I go into plenty of plants and I watch lots of sub-assemblies being built. And a lot of sub-assemblies, as in the sub-assemblies that end up in your cars, and they end up in your everyday items, because I work in a lot of, what are you doing?
The lighting was funky, I was just focusing differently.
Okay, you made me nervous there.
Oh, no.
Like we were out of memory or something.
Nope, we're good.
So, building RC aircraft is no different. I just can't tell if that's biting or not.
I mean, we don't always have this problem with other.
We almost never have this problem with other manufacturers.
So it can be done. That sure doesn't seem promising.
We're gonna try this again. Well, we've proven that the plane is pretty robust. Mm-hmm. It's strong, definitely. All right, well, we'll pause and come back. Okay, so after fighting this for a long time and having no success with getting those screws to go in there, this is how I'm gonna solve this. You'll notice that I just ripped that up. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another tube of glue and I'm gonna glue that and I'm gonna not fight it anymore. How much time do you suppose we wasted on that? 45 minutes?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So I've already got glue in there, but since I had to pull it in and out so many times, mostly ineffective. There's some glue. That's gonna hold nicely. So really just, you know, just the typical Dynam catastrophe on something that shouldn't even be a factor. It shouldn't even really be something that comes up in a build review. It should be like, yeah, we put the screws in, it's super easy assembly. And I'm very tempted to call out some of my peers on this and say, how is it that you've never run into this problem putting together a Dynam? Because I've never heard a peep of it. All right, so that's down there now. So now the big thing is, because we have that glued instead of being screwed, which would pull everything into true, I have to be somewhat careful about making sure that everything gets tucked all the way down, mostly this angle of incidence. So plane's flying along level and true. The angle of incidence is the angle that this sits relative to the wing, okay? So I just want to make sure that everything is tucked down where it needs to be. And if you glue a surface on like this, then what you run into is you run into this higher probability that the angle of incidence is not going to end up at the right angle, okay? So I think I'm going to pin that with something like probably a toothpick, I'm thinking. A skewer would work better because it's going to hold it with more strength. What would work best would be a screw as per the design. But obviously we've ruled that out. And yes, I did try the longer screws. Okay, so I'm holding this down. Give these guys a shot from here, please, if you can. So you see how I'm holding that down? Now I'm just gonna go in here at an angle like this. And I'm just gonna pin that down so that it can't lift up. See how it doesn't lift now? And I also don't have to hold it. Now I'm gonna come in from the opposite angle and I'm gonna pin this other side. Okay, I'm gonna go to a back a little bit just so that I have some more material to hang on to, okay? So now that's stabbed through. Now why did I do those angles? Because I'm avoiding the potential for a wire here and I'm avoiding these two rods here and here. And those two rods are of course the control rods for the elevator and the rudder. So I don't often give up on planes with stuff like that because I'm just really stubborn. But there is a time and a place to do it, and I'm not gonna waste another 3 hours on this plane trying to get one screw in. So here we go. So I'm gonna clip these with side cutters. Okay, so once I've clipped those with side cutters, I'm left with that little extra. So I'm gonna throw those away. And then I think I'm gonna use needle nose pliers to push those all the way down in there. So these have a broad face on them. See that? That flat spot. This is gonna give me the ability to push in until it's flat, okay? And I can go just beyond and that little foam will recover almost right away, okay? Same thing here. It's like it never happened, except that we filmed it. All right, great. So the next step, of course, also you'll want to keep an eye out for that screw to fall out at the most inopportune time. Like, you know, for instance, when you're wiring up some 13,000 volt transformers, it's probably going to fall out right then. All right, so let's put the wing on this thing. I think that makes sense next, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. I don't want to hit my toothpicks. So we've now learned that in Dynams, you're going to need some canopy glue. You're going to most definitely need a toothpick dispenser and toothpicks. Potentially other scale pilots, depending on your taste.
And some side cutters and needle nose pliers to cut your toothpicks.
So in typical fashion, Dynam has used a Fowler flap design, okay? So this whole wing surface pulls out and away, which is really cool if you can get it to go at the right angle for maximum effectiveness. The catch is that the controller system that we're going to be using for it is pretty much not going to give us much latitude in that arena. Okay, so this thing is going to go through the actual plane first. Okay, so that's the wing joiner or the wing spar, which is going to provide a lot of the structural integrity for the wing. Okay, so we'll just slide that through. Then these wires are going to get fed up into the fuse. So the catch is I need to hook up a Y cable for the ailerons, the flap, and the gear. Okay, so I'm just going to do that now. Brown to brown. Okay, so brown to brown. That's ailerons. Okay. And then we've got also the LEDs, but I'll worry about those later because they're a really long lead, so we can reach those through no problem. So the gear are here, so the black goes to brown. Signal on this one is white, and then the black is ground, and then power is red. On this one, signal is orange, then power is red, and then ground is brown. Okay. And I'm just doing this to lengthen up the leads on at least one half of these. Okay, so there's flaps. That'll make it a little easier to pull through. So this one here, brown to brown. See, just like that. Make sure they're the same. Now we've got quite a bit longer leads that we can use to reach through the fuse. And that'll help us to maybe pull those through. We might be able to hook them both up, but I honestly, I'm not sure. I already know what the next problem is going to be. Camera crew, have you spotted it?
Well, I'm seeing several potential issues. You have to get...
I have to get these wires back to the middle of the plane, not to this cavity. This is where the battery goes. So that's going to be fun. So I'm just going to try to feed this stuff through. But then I have to still have enough slack so that I can put this spar in here. Can you come over here? Okay, so I'm just going to slide that through. Just going to kind of force all this stuff in there. Okay, so once you get all the wires kind of tidied up, it's going to look something like this. See? Then I can slide this all the way on. So I'm going to pull that in a straight bundle of wires. And then as I come closer to the final point, there we go. So now I can tuck all these wires down and in, okay, just like that. And then I can see if it's even remotely possible to line up those screws. Camera crew, you said those were the same length screws?
Yep, they say 20 millimeters.
That's
On the
incorrect.
directions.
That's incorrect. It is not 20 millimeters. These ones are quite a bit longer.
On the directions, they're listed on the thing as 30 millimeter screws, but the directions say to use the 20 millimeters.
So 30 millimeters.
Just say what it says.
These ones are at least going in properly. You would think that something so simple as screws would be right.
Yeah.
And servos.
Yeah.
But yet, there's no guarantees. Okay, so you see how that's pushing the wing off? That's because it's not aligned properly, so I have to try to hold it over a little bit. See how it's still lifting the wing? I don't know if you can tell as I turn the screw. So this is the same problem you're having in the back. The difference is now I can kind of force the wing into position and allow it to slot in, okay? Yep, so that's lined up nicely. And then that little bit of glue, there's some China glue there. I'll just peel that out. No big deal on that. You know, some things are really totally manageable and they're not really a big deal. It's just kind of a, you know, it's a minor annoyance. And then there's other things that are just like, are you freaking kidding me? And anybody who's built radio controlled airplanes, and I'm talking about built from scratch, this is still a lot easier than that. But the difference is this is like part of the expectation, part of the value that you expect to get from a plug-in fly or a kit or an ARF or whatever direction you want to go, because ARFs are not the same thing. Almost ready to flies are not the same as bind-in flies. They're not the same as plug-in flies. This is basically a plug-in fly plane right now as it sits. Now we'll link to all the different configurations that Dynam offers, and they do offer a few different configurations. So you see what I did? I'm just pulling all these wires through so that all the Y cables are out, okay? And then I can look up in that hole and just make sure I don't have everything tangled like crazy, which I don't really yet. And now I'm just getting all the wires on the right side of the BEC, or excuse me, the ESC line there. Okay, so now I've got all those through. And then when I get ready to do the next wing, I can try to fight getting them through that hole. Now, the alternative is I can try to feed the Y cables back up, and then I can land them. And I'm actually going to take that XT60 and just slide it sideways there so it holds it. See, because this ultimately needs to get back here or wherever the receiver goes, which I haven't decided. I'm assuming the receiver is going to probably go back here, because that's where I'd probably try to put the receiver, probably in this middle here. We could also put it up here depending on how the CG works out. Might be a little bit easier because there is quite a bit extra wire back there. All right, so this other wing, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to lay this out. You've been doing this YouTube channel for a lot of years, right? How many years is that, camera crew? Like 6?
Well, you've been flying for 6.
And really the YouTube channel mostly for the last probably 5.
Yeah.
We did a little bit, but it wasn't
do
hardly
much right
anything.
away.
Yeah. And I can tell you that we've done the whole different variety, the different styles of planes. The super cheap planes, the fairly expensive planes, and then just about everything in between. And so we try to bring you guys a large variety because everybody has a different budget and everybody has different expectations for what they're wanting out of planes. And so we really do try to bring you a good mix of kind of a little bit of everything so we can meet people where they are and not just expect, oh, everybody can afford to spend $500 on a FW190, even though it's glorious and goes together in an hour, actually. Together.
Probably not even an hour.
Okay, so this is one of the Y cables. So this is going to be kind of challenging because I actually am tugging on the wires here. You're not going to be able to see it. You're not going to be able to see, so just don't even try there. I'm seeing a G as in gear. Yep, so this is gear. So I'm going to try that system I was talking about, which is where I'm going to feed this back up here. And I'm going to pull that up. What are you doing? F, A. This one's not labeled over here, so it must be gear. The gear are the white, red, and black on my plane. So just black goes to brown there. All right, so now I need to feed another one up, and I'm sorry, you're just not going to be able to see this because I can barely see it here, camera crew. Just stay on that side though. I don't want to wonder if you're gonna switch spots without me knowing. This plane stand might not be helping as much as it does on other planes. Trying to come up with a creative solution. You see that? I've kind of got it up against the spout of the, just trying to hold it at a certain angle. Okay, so this one is either the ailerons or, oh, I can see its flaps. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to feed that one back through. And I'm just watching through this opening. It's a small opening, probably about a 1/2 inch by 3/8 of an, or excuse me, about a 1/2 inch by about 1 inch long. So it's not hard to get tools through and stuff. It's just not super convenient. So this is ailerons, right?
No, I thought you said flaps.
Okay. And then the last one must be ailerons, but I'm still gonna double confirm that. Okay, so those two are plugged in. So this one is the last Y cable. And it's up inside, so I cannot tell what it is. So I'm assuming it's the ailerons because the ailerons are the shortest. And that's also from process of elimination, provided we didn't make any mistakes. That should be right. So I'm just using my index finger to feel if the mouth is opened on the needle nose pliers. Okay, then I'm gonna plug this in here. All right, so we got brown to brown. All right, so everything is intact there. The LED wire was long enough, so we just fed that through. It was no big deal. Now I can just kind of guide these wires through and down. So another thing too that we run into when we have kind of a more frustrating build is that when you're frustrated and you sit here and fight what would be an otherwise kind of a minor detail, you tend to get a little bit more rough with your planes. And then they get beat up worse. Or it's not that you necessarily even do it intentionally, it's just like you accidentally have a lot more opportunity to damage the finish on your planes. So that's something that we've been noticing, particularly on the last two Dynams that we built. This being the T-28, and then the last one we did was the B-26. Where I had the same problem lining up the holes on the back for the screws. You just get into a situation where maybe you have to press in a spot for more time than the manufacturer expected you might, or you literally have to like cut things apart to make things fit, and that's not necessarily good. See what's happening here? I'm having to guide these through as I push the wings in. Again, it's not something that, you know, I mean, you can do it. Is it an enjoyable process, this step? I would say this would be a more enjoyable process for if the leads were a little bit longer, maybe. It would make it a lot easier. Well, I feel like I'm running into something, but I know I'm not. Do you guys see? Does that look pretty clean to you? There's nothing there. I don't know if the joiner is slipped or what the deal is, but it's just really challenging to get this all the way in. Okay, there we go. Now it just all of a sudden, it just went. Now I have to try to push those connectors down. They're in the blind, I can't see them. But I know I have to get those connectors pulled through, or there's gonna be hell to pay for it later. Because if you don't get those connectors pulled through, then they're just gonna probably break free before you even hook them up to your receiver. Okay, so we're getting closer. We're making progress. That's the important part. I haven't thrown it across the room just quite yet. All right, good. So we got all the wires coming through. Oh, by the way, I had somebody the other week suggesting that I should lie to you all and say how perfect these things go together. So if you're watching, Mike, no. I'm not gonna do that. That's not what we do here. We show it the way it is in all its true colors. And if you don't like what you see, then that should help determine your purchasing decision. Now that being said, and I need to say this clearly, just because it's annoying to put together does not make it a bad plane. We have put together some planes that are annoying, and they have been really good planes. And then we have put some annoying planes together and they have sucked.
No, easy planes, and they've sucked.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's true. So we've had both ends of the spectrum. Yep. So I just, even though I'm not withholding my judgment about the way that this particular plane went together, I am trying to be as truthful about it so that you guys understand what you're getting into so that you don't feel like you've been misled or cheated or whatever. Because I don't think really even Dynam is trying to, you know, claim that this is a super easy build or whatever.
Well, and I don't understand what good us lying to people does.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, that's
just
silly.
Just stupidity. Yeah. So anyway. All right, so. There we go. So there's another one. Okay, so you guys see this, what's going on here? Part of what I'm doing now is I'm trying to keep these wires from being tangled up too bad, too egregiously bad. And it looks like I got pretty lucky. I've only got one that's sort of halfway tangled here. And I think I can possibly untangle it if I'm careful about the way I do this next step. Because cable management is challenging on these planes as it is. But then if you start getting tangles and stuff, then it's really tough. But you see what's going on? I've got one of those connectors I think is still stuck down here. The problem is if I pull hard on the connector, it's going to just dislodge from the, it's just gonna unplug from the connection down there, okay? So I'm actually trying to relieve it, because if I don't get that through and I have to unplug it, then that means, guess what? I have to undo all this work to get down to reattach it. Oh my goodness. Okay. There should be two LED wires. Where's the other LED wire? Oh, it's in my hand already. Okay, cool. So these are the wires that just came from the wing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause and get a twisty tie.
Okay.
Okay, so the twisty ties that came with the plane are a little bit too short to really get in there and functionally put it together. I'm just putting a zip tie in here just to hold everything together. It's not like it's a permanent thing. You can always cut that off easy enough. But my whole goal is to just kind of keep wires tamed. Okay, so that's down. All right, well, it's not totally together. It's got good lines. I like the dihedral on the wings. It's not cartoonily fake. That's one thing that we've run into on a lot of planes, is that you get a really, really popular plane and then they'll miss the scale lines. And then it's just like, ugh, no thanks. Ooh, that felt good. So now I have to put the 30mm screws. Guys, let's just look at this here. Look over in the pile here, camera crew. See how there's shorter? These are the same length. These are the same length. This is what we need, the longer ones. If you try to put the shorter ones in here, they won't go in. Or I mean, they'll go in, but they won't do anything. So you won't actually even hold the wing in at all. Okay, see how it's pushing up the wing as I tighten? See how it's lifting, 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 lifting. I'm gonna tighten that back in, and then I'm gonna see if I can get it to a line. See, it's lifting, so we're not lined up yet. See how it's lifting? I'm gonna hold that extremely tight, and I'm gonna try to pull it toward myself. Okay, so I think, nope, still not going. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this out all the way, And I'm just gonna look. I mean, I can see where the hole is. Before I go any further, there's still a pretty sizable gap here. And I think part of the problem is there's probably a connector or two that's like tangled up in this spot where this is supposed to go. Yeah, I think one of my wires from this side was preventing this from sliding in all the way. Not sure though. I moved the wire and it dropped into like a hole. So we'll see if that does it. See that shipping scuff there right next to my thumb? Above my right thumb, below the black thing, there's two little scuffs. It's not anything to write home about, but it's definitely there, it exists. Okay, so you see how this spins? So this is actually threaded into the top, so I'm actually gonna run it so that it unthreads, so it's stripping the threads out here. Because then once I get that done, it'll be a lot easier for me to align it like that and then start screwing it in. There is another trick that helps on planes like this, and that is if you use a drill to assemble them, sometimes it is a little bit easier. I know it sounds kind of aggressive, but if you have a drill for like this step would be way easier if you had a drill, because you could apply pressure and then you could hold everything together. In fact, it's such a good idea on this plane that I'm gonna go get a drill and come back. All right, so we have an impact. And there it goes. Okay, so that one got lined up. Like I said, I normally wouldn't do this, but we're having so much trouble lining up these screws. Oh, that's an LED. I thought it was a drip of glue.
I thought that earlier too, and then I remember.
Okay. So of course that lined up perfectly on the first try. Just be careful, as you can easily break a plane doing this. But now all four of those screws are in, and that was actually way easier that way.
Yep.
Nice smooth finish. Feels really light, which is good. That bodes well for the plane flying good. So I'm excited about that. All right, so now that we've got all that stuff physically in, let's go ahead and revisit the canopy for a minute. I doubt that's tacked up too much, but it might be worth peeling this off and kind of refining that a little bit real quick. So why don't we do that while we're between steps? So on this, when I peel this back, it's going to want to lift. So I have to be careful the direction that I peel. You see how I'm not applying any load to the joint, okay? Okay, so that's pretty simple stuff. I'll just stick that down there. And now we can wipe that clean with a wet rag. Just get that seepage off of there. See, it just wiped right off, no problem. Made a nice clean seam actually. So now, if I remember right, this side was the side that kind of was laid down. The other side was wanting to lift up. And I can't remember which side was lifting. I don't remember. One of them was lifting and one of them was fine. Okay, so same thing, I want to pull this right into the joint so that you're not lifting it and pulling out like this, okay? Remember, that was the whole reason we taped this. Okay, now I'm going to set that back down. Then I'm just going to take my wet paper towel, make sure there's not a glue spot on it. I'll just wipe along the joint, make it nice and clean.
Looks really good.
Yeah, actually that was quite easy. Okay, cool. So there you have it. I missed a little bit of glue back here. No, that's part of the paint. Yeah, that looks real nice. Cool. Okay, so one other thing we have to do while we're at this step, we need to make a pole so that we can lift this off of the fuselage.
Yep.
When we go to access the battery and whatnot. The easiest way I've found to do this, and I do this on expensive and cheap planes alike, I get to where the tape is clean because there was like a cat hair or something on that.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know. And then usually go a little bit more than double what you think you're going to need. And I try to get my fingerprints minimized. And just stick that right there. And then you can just double it back so that it kind of wants to almost lay flat. It's very simple. And then just kind of, ooh, I screwed that one up pretty bad. Let the static help me. Okay, so there we go. See how that looks. Okay, so it kind of lays flat on the plane. So it'll give us a little something to grab. And you'll be surprised, they don't really buzz much. You would think they would buzz like crazy when you get to flying, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that being an issue. Okay, so then you can use that to easily lift that off. Looks pretty good. That plane is nice looking. I like the lines. The scale lines are good. I wonder what it's going to look like with the prop on there.
And if it looks this good naked, the decals are going to make a big difference too.
Depends on the decals though.
Well, we'll leave them off if they look lame. That doesn't sound good.
No, it's just, why isn't that all the way up? I wonder if the retract didn't get fully collapsed before they sent this. Now, we have to do the controls on the tail. So I'm trying to think if now would be a good time to do that. Yeah, let's try it now. So we have to do a control here and a control there. Does the instruction manual tell us?
Well, it does say it should be in the center position, but that's just the servo. It doesn't say anything about like the control horns.
It does up here. It should be in the center position. What does the center position mean exactly?
No, it says the servo should be in the center position.
Oh yeah, the servo should be in the center position before you do this.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it doesn't say anything about what hole to stick it in.
Well, I mean, just try them both. All three.
No.
Here we go. So there's a nut. And there's a hole. I guess we'll put it in the outside-most hole because it's already wider. And so that'll give us somewhere to start. We'll see what kind of output we get.
Gotta switch sides.
Okay, so now this assembly is really common in the RC environment. But the reason I'm not crazy about this style is that there's a nut. And the only way for that nut to actually hold is to stretch these threads just like any bolt will. And that requires it to basically be tight up against the surface, which then means that this thing it's not allowed to pivot anymore. So as this goes back, it needs to pivot to stay at the right angle. You see? If it's not allowed to pivot, then you end up with this like bending of the rod. It'll bend right here, or it'll bend right here. And it's really hard on the servos, and the whole system doesn't work right because of it. So again, literally a 2-cent piece on a plane of this caliber should not make or break it. It shouldn't. And I'm not saying that that makes or breaks it, but it is a factor, and it just needs to be resolved by somebody. But as typical, I am going to show the plane as it was sent. Now, look at this. You see this? How there's a nut? Technically, they sent 4 of these things. So I could actually use 2 nuts on there and double nut the thing if there's enough thread, but I don't think there is. Now, I could go to the outside most hole on here too, and that's probably what I'll do. I think I'm going to have to go to the top. because it looks like that rod wants to kind of come out the top. I've got the plane upside down, obviously, folks, if you weren't thinking about that. So I don't mean to confuse anybody. So the other thing too, is that if you can get glue in this and allow it to spin free like that, that's ideal. Because it's still gonna, the nut's still gonna stay put, but then this is allowed to pivot free. That would be the ideal circumstances. Okay. So I'm just, for the moment, I'm just gonna tighten it on there. Sorry.
Okay, I'll turn it off now. That should be fine.
Okay, so we'll just back that off. And this is already kind of pulled over to the side, but that's okay because the servo that's running this is way off right now. It's not centered, and I'm not claiming that these are centered at all, okay? It's just on there enough to hold it so that when we turn on the receiver or whatever, it moves the surface and we can see it. Ah, dang it, you see what just happened? It just pulled this off because this thing is glued in and it's not dried yet. So what that means is, I have to think for a second. How are we going to keep that from being a problem? See how that's right there?
Hot glue.
Hot glue would hold it. How about we just leave it out for now? And we'll come back to that a little bit later.
Okay.
And then same thing here. This one's also glued the same way, and I just didn't get to that step yet. So you see how that's all spinning free really, really easy? I'm going to try to make that so it's lined up straight. I don't know if you guys can tell, but you have to kind of go beyond where you want to be. And then you can use this screw to actually turn it, and that'll torque down and tighten the nut. Then once you get that all done, then you can just use your screwdriver to loosen this screw. Can you give me a shot from the tail of the plane? It's like somewhere close to where my head is here. I can see what I'm talking about. See what I'm having to do? Now you can grab this. You can get the screw started. There we go. Okay, so you see how that opens up that hole? Then you can receive the wire. Now, one thing about that is that this too, the glue is still setting up. So what Camera Crew was talking about was if we were to hot glue, then this would stay like right away. And that would probably be a good thing. We could also tape it. That might hold it in the meantime, and then we can peel the tape off if it becomes a mess. I think for now, we're just gonna have to regrettably just wait until we're done with the servos and stuff.
Okay.
With all the servo wires and the receiver and everything. But I would say, I mean, so far, as frustrating as this build has been, and it's not been an overly long one for a Dynam, it's been pretty quick, it still looks good. And it feels light. If it doesn't feel light when it's at this stage, then you're in trouble because you're going to be adding a battery and everything. So let's put the prop together. Looks like this just goes straight down on there, okay, like that. And how do you know which way it goes? Well, when it's spinning counterclockwise, it should be producing thrust. So it'll blow behind, like here. Okay, and then there's a nut, and then there's this washer. So that washer goes right there, and then this nut goes right here. Now, I believe there's supposed to be another modified acorn nut looking thing that goes over the end of this. Uh-oh. Boy, that doesn't feel like it's wanting to go. That does not feel like that's wanting to go. It's always kind of scary when it doesn't go, because if it doesn't go, right? See? That's not turning.
No.
That's the wrong threads. And I can tell the difference between wrong thread and cross-threaded usually. And I honestly do not know what's going on there. I'm just going to inspect this closely. Nope. All right, so what I'm going to do is we'll pause it and we'll come right back. So after looking through my nuts, I found that the shaft was actually the problem. There was a bit of a cross thread on that. And the reason I found is because I took this from one of my crash planes. Okay. This is what was provided. And after I started this on there and I realized that it was just cross threaded, I was able to get this started and then it would go on there. Then I was able to go back to the stock one. So the stock one, of course, still makes me a bit nervous. Okay, so once I get that tight, because we haven't had many problems at all with our props on the, you know, on the Dynams.
Never.
We've never had them fly off in our recent history.
Except.
I don't know if you guys can see how tight I just put that on, but I put it on so tight that I was afraid I was going to break the motor mount.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's on there very tight. Good strong magnets. You can always tell when it does that wiggle thing like that.
But that's all that's holding it on there is the one nut?
Yeah. Yep, just one nut. No big deal, right? So we could also put glue on there to gum up the threads so that the nut can't back off as easily. It'll still do it eventually. And yes, that's all that came with it. So I had this modified nut, and this was actually designed to receive a spinner. So I guess I had thought about the possibility of putting that over that. But I don't know if that looks better or just dumb. I think it looks just dumb.
Yeah, it's not better.
If it was the only thing on there, I don't think it would look bad. I'm just not 100% sure I have enough depth. It's kind of hard to tell. Because if that was able to go on there like that, then I think it might look a little bit better. And you remember how earlier we were talking about just using it stock?
Right.
So we're just going to do it stock. Hope for the best. So at this point, guys, we're basically ready to do the receiver and the electronics, except that I want to have the decals done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of time, clean up, and come right back for decals. Okay, so upon closer inspection, we think we might be short a decal page, but we're not sure. If you want to come over here and look at this. See how there's a swoosh that goes up and over and down? Well, we don't have that. We have this one, but then there's a second page here. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to be painted right here, guys. But whatever the case is, we're just going to use with what we've got. We'll stick these on. I have no idea what the deal is with this one. Oh wait, I do. It's a Dynam. Okay, so this thing here is supposed to go on the inboard portion of the wing. Of course, that's going to make it a little bit challenging because the control surface there is going to want to kind of play tricks on us. So I'm actually going to just run it as though the control surface doesn't exist right now, and then we'll cut it. It's a little bit longer than it needed to be too, which is fine. It's not a big deal. It's pretty easy to manage. I just wish I would have known. I would have wrapped the front edge a little bit. So I'm going to cut it here and just follow back to the seam. I'm doing this I'm leaving that attached. And I'm going to cut here and then just go back toward the outboard portion of the wing. Okay. Then I'll just push that down on either side. And then I have to have the camera crew move so that I can get into the other side and cut this back here. I'm just going to pull that up just a hair and then just follow along. Try to get a nice clean cut. I need that knife back. Camera crew, please. Thanks. Okay, so then we can cut this here just like that. And then the flap, I can take a second and kind of fold down the decal. So that looks reasonably good. The only thing I'll do different on the next side is I'll actually just stick it on a little bit earlier. Okay. And then hopefully it won't wrap the edge. But now I'd like symmetry, so I guess really, I'm not sure. Let's just try it. There's usually that swoosh that goes up over the top of the wing on the fuse. So I'm not sure why it's not there on this plane. I'm assuming that somebody on the paint line like took the day off or whatever, or was on their smoke break or whatever it was that they were doing instead of painting that spot. Plane feels about twice as strong with that decal on. Okay. So now that that's done, I can push down in the seam here and here. And then this thing, take the scissors and just cut down length. That worked out pretty good. Looks nice. Mm-hmm. I like that thing on the inboard portion of the wings. That'd be like a texture strip for the pilot to get out and walk off to the end of the wing. Okay, so now they call out navy on that side, the white navy. And then over here, they've got the stars and bars. But I don't know which one's bigger. There's a bigger one and a smaller one. I'm assuming the smaller ones are going to go on the side, but it looks like they actually have the smaller ones. It's kind of confusing. 13. I don't have a 13. I have a 23, and I have a 24, and I have a 33 and a 33. So that supports my true claims here.
Well,
13.
Wait.
That's the yellow one, maybe? Yeah. That's right. So this one would be 23. So 23 is right here. So it is the bigger one. I think what's going on is this must be the set that you get if you get the yellow one. And this one must be the one you get when you get the white one. Because I was going to say, why would they have shorted us a decal pack? Because there's a lot of stars and bars.
Has the NJ, which is the tail on that one, and then ours has the TPS. Yeah. So that must be right.
The TPS reports.
Yes.
Okay. Need those right away. I did get the memo.
I got your reference.
Sure you did.
I did.
All right, so that one's stuck on there. Now we can do navy on the other side. And then the clear navies actually go on the back. They go on the side of the fuse. Okay, so we'll just get this peeled up.
That's kind of weird.
What, the white?
The white? That would actually be?
I don't know. Ask the Chinese.
Okay.
I think it is actually maybe because of the nature of the orange wingtip. Something like that. I'm just going to take it for granted that it's right because I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel on this. So 710 goes on either side. I'm just kind of looking in whatever I see next, I stick it on there. These are the same on both sides. Sometimes they got a little bit of an italics finish. So this goes right behind the orange, right? Like this?
Yes.
Can you verify?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to look at both spots.
You're looking at the picture on the box?
Yeah,
okay.
well, both.
So now that's going to tape the canopy down.
Yep.
Okay, so now that's free again. We'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. I kind of like to do symmetrical. I like to do it one style at a time because then I can get them positioned about the same. If you get too far ahead of yourself, then you'll end up putting one a little bit different than the other and it'll drive you nuts even though nobody will ever know unless you put it on YouTube and film yourself doing everything. There's something about having just a plain white plane that looks cool. But then there's also something about once the decals are on, it looks really cool too. Okay. Yeah, I definitely cut the foam with that. Did you see?
Yeah.
All right, so what's next? We got navy stickers. That must be on the bottom side. Of course, they don't tell you that.
Wait. There's a 24 that goes underneath and then a 34 that goes underneath.
Excuse me. Where's 34?
34 is underneath the stars and bars.
All right, so it's
Side.
the same orientation, top or bottom view. This one's not wanting to come off of there very good. There we go, got it. These are pretty nice decals, actually. That's one thing we've had good luck with on the Dynams is they've usually got pretty good decals. Oh boy. There's a lot going on in this spot. A lot more mold release down here. Okay, so 24 was the other one?
Yes.
Yeah. Oops. Okay, so this one's gonna be a little bit harder to reach, so I gotta rotate it again. Okay, so the stars and bars point forward. Because of the servo, I'm just gonna probably come out a little bit. In a perfect world, the servo would not be a conflict there, but obviously the servo is more important than the stars and bars. Okay. Is there anything else on the bottom? I don't think there is. Just on the sides of the fuse.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The navy, the stars and bars, and then the tail letters.
There's nothing up front.
Nope, just the.
Yeah. On this guy there is. I'm not on ours though.
The Dynam stickers.
Why don't you show them the box or something so they can see what we're looking at too. So 30, 33. I got 33. I'm going to do the stars and bars. So it looks like the stars and bars favors up to the front. So if we do the stars and bars here, I just need to be careful. And by the way, give them a shot at some point of all the extra hardware we got. What the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. It's confusing.
It almost goes, yeah, that panel line.
I'm just going to throw it so that it's right at the inboard portion of that wing root. At the end of the wing box here. Okay, then navy, just clear.
Yep. It goes pretty much directly
Okay.
after it.
Yep. Okay. Okay. This is nice decals. Makes it, really dresses it up good. I was concerned, we got done doing that Horizon T-28 the other day and it was just amazing. And very easy to install and flew perfectly. So this thing is gonna have some serious challenge. Now that being said, this has retracts and flaps, which is a big additional feature. This is also 1.3 meters, right? Can you check the drawing?
It is 1.27 or 1270. So do they call that 1.2 or 1.3?
So it's a 1270 millimeter plane. So
Yeah.
that would be a 1300 millimeter plane instead of a 1.1. So it's a little bit bigger. You can handle a little bit more weight. But I would say that the differences in quality are pretty obvious. This is definitely going to be an easier one on the pocketbook. Actually, I don't know that it is because it's a bigger plane. But this has also got a lot more features. So it's almost like the 1.2 meter Horizon. That one is a 1.2. This one's a 1.27. So it's very slightly bigger. Okay. I didn't get that one very straight, did I? I wonder if I can peel it without screwing it up. I'm gonna try. I usually can't get them, but that's the cautionary tale, folks. Usually you're not gonna get lucky enough to get them off of there and then get good bonding again. But I got lucky. Okay, cool. That was pointed down. It's gonna look dumb. Okay, so TPS is supposed to be on the top of the tail.
Yeah.
Looks like they show it about halfway.
Yeah.
Okay, so these ones we're probably gonna have to cut like we've done sometimes.
Yeah.
On the tails of planes. It's about halfway. Now I'm sure there's some aficionado out there. Ooh, crap. Did you see what just happened?
What?
That goes on the other side. The angles didn't match up.
Oh.
So there is a difference. Okay. Yep, that's the correct way. I'm sure there's some aficionado that knows what this stands for, like what squadron it was and what the significance of TPS was, and it's not the TPS reports. But I'm just gonna let you guys tell me in the comments below, all 7 of you that are still watching. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna rotate around. Well, I'm glad that we didn't get shorted on decals. At first, I thought maybe we did, but
Yeah.
now that we've done this, it's pretty evident we did not.
Well, minus that second black, like, swoosh that goes over the wing.
Which, I don't know, maybe they just changed the design, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give these guys the benefit of the doubt when possible because we beat them up really hard on other stuff. I mean, they deserve it, but, you know, I still like the planes. I wouldn't be doing this. If you guys are on a tighter RC budget, Dynam is not a bad place to land, pun intended. Ha ha ha. Okay,
So then it's just like the no steps and.
Why do they have a poison symbol on here? Where's that supposed to go? The no step is really obvious. That should go on the control surface.
I don't think any of those little extra decals
Are labeled.
are shown on here.
Okay.
You have to use your best judgment.
No step is here. And then no step's going to be over here. I've rotated this plane like 100 times so far. I'm making it so that the pilot would be able to read it. Or the ground crew would be able to read it. I think that technically would actually be over here and it'd be on each of the control surfaces. Okay, so engine open. I don't really know what the heck that's supposed to mean, but let's just pretend it means something helpful. So let's put it on this side so that the arrow points toward where the engine is. Then we have an open here. Okay, so we'll just put that there. Pretend like. Okay, then we have all these other things. Nope. Danger. Where's the danger going to be?
Sometimes we put those by the prop.
Yeah, I know there's a prop up here. There's only one. And they provided 2 stickers, so I'm trying to think of another creative way to do that that would look somewhat realistic. I'll just put it here. Right past the international orange would be. Let's do it right here. Looks good. Then there's a poison symbol. So I don't really know what the heck that's all about. This plane is, I mean, it feels nice and solid. I'm like really happy with that. I'm gonna put it up here next to the canopy. Okay. All right, then 2.4 gigahertz and RC, Dynam and Detram. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and get these. And we'll put them right where they belong. Looks good.
It does look good.
I'm curious how the landing gear, the retracts look. Hope they look half as good as the rest of the plane. And this thing, I have confidence that it's gonna fly good. That's really, honestly, the most important part. If it doesn't fly good, who cares how easy it was to build? Well, at least if it's gonna fly bad, it would go together easy. But that thing is really pretty. It looks good, it feels like it's solid. The wings look like they've got enough strength to hold it. It's not like insanely strong, but it's definitely strong enough. The prop looks good, the size is about right. The canopy looks nice. It was well trimmed. The pilot looks better. It's actually like a she, which is kind of cool actually. I don't know if you guys can see the eyes.
Hold still.
That looks like a she. That's a she. Okay, so the next step at this point is basically to go ahead and start getting the receiver plugged in. So we have to also mark the CG. So why don't we mark the CG real quick?
Okay.
We aren't necessarily ready to actually do CG testing.
All the hardware is talking about.
What?
Hardware.
80 to 85 millimeters. Okay. That's from the wing root, 80 to 85. So here's 80. There's 80. And then 85 is, of course, here. Okay, so it's right at that panel line. Why is that different over here? That's weird. Why would that possibly be different? See, this is one problem that you can run into on these planes, guys. This is somewhat ambiguous because of where the wing root starts. Does it start here? Does it start here? Does it start at the panel line? I'm not sure. So why don't we just make sure that we're absolutely in the same spot? And then I can draw my imaginary line. That looks really good on this side. And then let's make sure we're actually, am I at 80? I'm at 80 right now. So let's see what, I'm gonna use this side this time. I think I must have just started from the wrong spot on this one. So when I mark this, I'll just have to be very mindful that my one mark is good and the other mark is not necessarily so good.
Okay.
I don't really have a better explanation, but. Okay, so here's one of the CG marks, and here's the other CG mark. Big and ugly. Okay, those look like they're about symmetrical too. I just must have been kind of lining up back a little bit too far to begin my marking point. All right, so now that the CG's marked, we can go ahead and we're gonna take a second and clean up and come right back with radio setup. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and get the radio setup done on this Dynam T-28. Normally we use the Blitz DT9. This is a Decals Tech product as well. And we're gonna use this Gavin, which is also made by the Decals Tech. This is a Dynam product. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use it 2200 3S 30C Gen 2 Smart Pack in this airplane, which is gonna be an amazing product for this plane. Although I think it's gonna be too small, I bet we're gonna have trouble with the CG. And when and if that happens, because these packs are so small, I will, based on, you gotta remember, like this plane's been out for a while from Dynam, so it's possible that this is gonna need a little bit more nose weight. So we'll have to step it up until we get to the point where it's balances out. Because I don't like to put dead weight in my plane. Some people do, and it's okay. I'm just not big on doing that. This thing is really hard to get out of the box. Oh my goodness.
Help?
No.
Okay.
I want people to see how it goes. So if you're alone, you're gonna have to get creative because it is in there really hard to get out. So if you're planning on, you know, like transporting your radios this way,
Maybe
I would not recommend it. Oh, jeez.
gracious.
Okay, so what we've got here, there is a transmitter, and then there's an 8-channel receiver. This is the SR868 or 6A. I-stone or is-tone. I don't know what that means. It's got a diversity antenna, a bind button, an LED here that gives you status. And then there's a micro USB plug on there for programming, I believe. Oh, look at this. There's a little spring in there. I don't know if that's if you're switching the modes, maybe. I don't know. Let's just pull this out. Okay, it does come with a manual. 8-channel, 2.4 gigahertz digital proportional RC system. It's got all sorts of interesting things in here. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. I got better things to do with my life. Like put this plane together and hope to God that it's not that hard to set up. Okay, so this is mode 2. So throttle here, rudder, elevator, and ailerons. It's got some plastic on the protective plastic there, so I'm just gonna leave the rest on. Still has the bind plug thing over here, which means I'm gonna be not happy about that because I wanna have this be stationary there and stationary there, just like a regular switch. There's no sliders. There's a trainer plug here and a USB plug here. Okay. Okay, so everything looks pretty solid there. Feels nice. It's a little bit simpler than this 9-channel. It looks like there. It's about the same size. It's got a bendy antenna, so you can fold that off to the side. There's nothing in the handle. No antenna. I think this has a diversity antenna in here. Okay. Type of batteries this uses is 4 AA's. So we'll actually pause and get those going right now. All right, so we're gonna stick these AA's in. AA's, the flat side goes to the spring. Pretty simple stuff. I would assume if you're getting this far into a video about airplanes, you probably know how to put the AA's into your transmitter. But if not, now you know. Powering this on, well, it's got all sorts of song going on. Okay, so it's got the percentage here.
Hang on, let me see if I can get closer.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it says Model 1. Okay, so you press up and it brings up that menu. Timer set. Control switch. Throttle. SW. Where's SW? I don't see SW. Oh, control switch. There's enter and exit. Okay, so down. Oh, that takes you to the timer settings. So there's timer 1, there's timer 2. There's your modes, nice. So you can see your throttle. That's not tied to anything. That's tied to auxiliary 3. That's tied to auxiliary 1. That's tied to the gear. That's tied to aux 2. Nothing. Nothing there. Nothing there, nothing there. Okay, so that's a channel monitor. That is your function set. Throttle hold is off. I want to go into that by pressing enter. I'm going to set it to SF, which is up here on my right hand side. Okay. Oops, enter. I can use this to go down to the next ACR fly. I'm not sure what that is. Trainer, aileron, dual rates. They're all set to SF. I'm going to set them to SD. Pretty easy to set this up so far. SA is gear. SB is going to be flaps. I think aux 1 is going to be flaps, so I'm going to call that SB. Okay, then aux 2. Is there an SC? There is SC.
The SC is that bind.
I understand, but I don't care because I don't think I'm using that channel for anything yet. There's going to be one that's used for stabilizer control, so I guess it's going to be SE. Let's go back over to that. A, B, C, E. So where's SE? SE's up there. Okay. So we have to make an assignment somewhere for that, but I don't know if that's going to be available yet. There we go. There's your parameters. Function set, model set, channel monitor, system set, model parameter, reverse set point, endpoint, subtrim, stick curve, throttle hold. You can set the position of throttle hold, mix set, servo delay, airplane gyro. Unable to connect to the receiver. You have to have the receiver attached first. Okay, so we'll get everything else set first. So throttle stick down, throttle cuts on, and you see how it says hold. That's pretty cool. So far, I actually like this transmitter. It's a little bit simpler than this one. This one's kind of almost feels like it's trying to copycat the Spectrum setup, and it just doesn't do a very good job of it. And it's a little bit big, but it does have really nice sliders, which is kind of funny. They're super smooth.
How many times have you used them?
Never. Thank you for asking the question that everybody was thinking. All right, so now my next step is I got to take this thing off because it's driving me nuts. This is making it kind of hard to see the screen for me.
I can't believe you left it on there that long.
I know, it's driving me nuts.
I was shocked.
Okay, so the camera crew is going to take that. Okay. She's now happy that she got to see that. Okay, shut this off. There's a backlight behind here. Mm-hmm. It's got a loud chirp, which is kind of handy. I like being able to hear stuff like that.
And it doesn't talk in a weird accent that can't pronounce gyro.
I think it will be doing that later.
Oh,
so
man.
I wouldn't get too excited. Okay, so this is the SR86A. So this is a lot like the plug and fly, or excuse me, the bind and fly options. Bind and play is what they call it from Dynam. This just happens to be a true 8-channel instead of a 6-channel. So this does have a stabilizer. There's 4 flight modes. There's normal mode, which has stabilization. Then there's the aerobatic mode. And the aerobatic mode will hold an attitude while you're flying. Okay, hypothetically, I don't know if I believe that. Then the gyro off, of course, is gyro off. And then there's auto recovery, which is like auto leveling or safe in the Horizon world. So what I need to do now is I need to figure out, do I want to try to put this thing up here or here? It needs to be in line with face. Okay, so you can do up, face down, face left, face right, but the antennas evidently need to move to the back, right? Where's the front of the plane? Oh, the heading direction. There's an arrow on here. See, there's the heading. So the antennas need to go forward. Okay, so no matter what we do, the antennas have to go forward. And there's an airplane there to help you identify what direction to put it. So it's possible we could put it here. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the end-all cure-all. It's just, I'm just kind of thinking through my options now. Since this is a plug-and fly, you got to figure out where you're going to put all your stuff, okay? So if you guys are on a tight budget and you're like, hey, Brian, help me with my plug-and fly. You know, if you're on a tight budget and you're also new to the hobby, please consider buying a bind and fly plane. You're going to want the help getting it set up. It's just a lot simpler. And okay, so these are the 2 red lights I'm assuming those are red. So we need to plug in these things too. So let's see where this goes. So there's flashing and then on. So these two are going to be flashing, and you can tell where it's flashing here. Just follow these wires up, and these two are going to be flashing, okay? So for whatever reason, the controller on these Dynam aircraft has 3 flashing and then 2 solid, which, you know, that's fine. I'm assuming there's not a tail light on this one. No, it's just the top. It's the beacon up above and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have 2 wires hooked up and we have an extra one, okay? So then these are gonna go to the LEDs out at the wings if you were gonna have them solid, which I want them solid, okay? Solid meaning always on, as opposed to flashing. So the black goes to the brown and the red goes to the red. Okay, see that? Pretty simple stuff. Okay, so this is the other wire for the other LED. So now at any point you could plug this into any channel and it would energize the LEDs and you'd be able to see them operate. But in our case, we're probably gonna have to put it on a Y cable because the nature of all this wiring, okay? So this is evidently where the landing gear, yep, that's a landing gear, probably the nose gear. And so we also have, that's going to give us one extra plug that we could plug these into, because the other plug is going to go to a Y cable that's going out the wings already, okay? So that's throttle, so we could start landing these one at a time. This is labeled, which is nice. Looks like signal is the top, maybe. It's kind of hard to tell from that drawing. It's not super clear. Okay, so I'm going to just verify this. The signal is in fact at the top. That's being the top. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So the lighter color is going to go toward the top. T for throttle. Okay, here's the rudder, so we can plug that in. Nice evenly length. This is, you've got one that's this long and then one that's that long. That's always fun.
That might determine where the
receiver goes.
goes.
Yep, which is pretty annoying.
Check this. Oh, that's better.
I'm tired of reaching for it. It's like killing my back. Okay. So the rudder can go red right there. And then this is the elevator right here. That doesn't seem right. Why would the elevator be hooked to 2 different things? That is totally the rudder. Because the rudder, that is the rudder. So they labeled this wrong too. Okay, well, we're gonna switch those around, I guess. So that's the rudder. How can you tell? You can move it and it'll move the control rod that's back there. Of course you can't see because you're in the wrong spot. Okay, see this? Now we're gonna go into the wing, maybe some point. Oh man, I'm gonna have to somehow test all these. So the easiest way to test all this is probably to use a tester. So I'm going to use this servo tester. This is an XBC 100 smart battery checker, but it also is a servo tester. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and plug in the retracts because it's really easy to then get the lights tested too. So this looks like the ground is on the left, far away from the camera. So that is not turning on the lights. So may have to go to servo test. Oh, okay, there we go. So once you turn it on, you can see there's a red light. Red is right returning. There's a green light There's a flashing red, and then this one's also flashing red. Cool. Very happy with that. There goes the nose gear. Okay. Looks nice. And there collapses the gear. Very good. Okay, so now we have this channel functionable. So now all I have to do is basically plug in one of these, and one of these is going to work, and the other two aren't. Okay, so that just moved a flap. It was stuck. It was stuck on this. There we go. Okay, so that's obviously not the right one, so that's flaps. Since we know that, did we say like flaps would be auxiliary 1 maybe?
Mm-hmm. That's what you were thinking it would be.
Because it'd be after gear. Okay,
Yep.
Cool. So we'll just plug that one in. Really, we're just trying to identify everything, kind of see where things land. Okay, so this is another one. This might be the gear because it's short. No, that's probably the ailerons. Yep, ailerons. Yep. Why did I know that, camera crew?
Because it was short.
Way short. Like annoyingly short, because now that's going to be essentially needing an extension cord of sorts. Okay, so now we're getting into the gigantic tangled mess, which is not uncommon. It's exacerbated by Dynam factor. These are probably the landing gear. That's pretty cool. They work good. They're not the same color. Nice. Very good. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to leave the gear down, unplug the gear. We have accomplished most of our goals with all that because we technically have this thing hooked up now. Isn't that crazy? It just kind of comes together. Mm-hmm. But it's not done because you couldn't really fly like this because that would be not a good idea since there's a huge mess of wire. And you have to have this thing set and fixed in a specific spot. Okay, so this one is your additional flash circuit. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to stuff that into the backside of this connector to just kind of keep that so that it's not going to short something out. Okay. And as a result of having an extra connector, I'm just going to be on the safe side and put a little piece of electrical tape to prevent that from coming undone. This is just a little security measure. It doesn't have to absolutely happen, but if you're nervous about that, then I would just go ahead and tape it on there. You'll have a little extra confidence in the plane surviving to see another day. All right, so obviously we got lots of wire to cable management with. And to be honest, I'm not sure the easiest way to do this, but I'm just going to start by getting everything kind of in the same position. You got to clear all these obstacles too, guys. So this is the direction the plane has to go. And then the canopy, just so you know, the canopy does not actually go into that, does it? Because this...
How much clearance are you going to have?
Looks like that might actually go in there if you wanted. Like there's no reason why you couldn't stick it there. You just need it far enough down it doesn't hit the bind plug all the time, or the bind button. That's kind of tempting actually. That might not be a bad spot. We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. What do we have to lose?
We're under 15% on battery.
Okay.
Does it have enough stability
Strength?
there, being just on a little
We'll
piece?
find out.
Okay. Sounds good.
That plastic thingy. Okay, so you see this, guys? That's just gonna go in here and get hugged. Aww. You know, so cute. And then I can glue that if we want. And then all I gotta do is just keep those wires from interfering with every single surface down there. It should be no big deal at all.
Looks great.
Should be a 2-minute thing.
That's what you always say.
Yeah, and then 30 seconds later.
Or 5 hours, just depends on.
All right. This is gonna be a total cluster, I can tell. So we need to tie this up temporarily. So camera crew, I'm gonna petition to have an extra zip tie brought over here from you.
Okay.
Can you help me with that so I can keep this all bundled?
Yes.
Thank you.
Same size as last time.
Honestly, I don't care. I just need a zip tie, any zip tie. Small, that's the small black one like you gave me earlier is fine. That was a little bit weird. Okay, so we're just gonna throw this one zip tie around here. This is obviously not probably the way it's gonna end up, but it's the way it's gonna be for the moment, so we can do some more testing and make sure that everything is appropriate. You can always go in and change things around if you need to. And don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes that's called for. And other times, you know, leave good well enough. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Leave good well enough.
Leave well enough alone. I don't know.
Or something, I don't know.
Like that.
Whatever that thing is. Do that thing if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Hyper specific quotes by Brian Phillips. I'm not sure if that's going to be sufficient or not. It looks a little bit sketchy, but I can live with it. Then these antenna will, okay, so this is what I'm going to do for the antenna. I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to cut a slot like this, okay? So I'm going to do really ghetto style here, guys. Get ready for it. Okay. I'm just going to push that down in there and it's going to work flawlessly. See that? Just simple as it gets, okay? Sometimes the easiest solution is the best solution, and then other times it's absolutely the wrong solution. Okay. In this case, I'm going for simple does it because I always have my reservations. And no, it's not to some fun place for a date night with my wonderful camera crew. Okay, here we go. It is Valentine's Day this weekend.
It is.
Did you get me something good?
Yeah. I got you a Dynam T-28.
Oh, dang it. Bad call.
Oh, you said good. My bad. Sorry.
I already have that.
Did you give me something good?
No.
That's what I thought.
We just know each other too well. How many years does it take to get to that? For us, what was that, like 2 years? It's like, why are we doing this exactly?
It was a little longer than that.
Yeah.
3, maybe.
Just, let's trim this here. And then let's trim this like that. Here we go. Just like
you
that.
planned it.
Yeah, that's why I did it twice. The first was a practice. Ugh, get in there. Cool. That looks horrible. Still looks bad. Okay, looks good. So now, yeah, you could do that exact setup, provided, I think that's about where, yeah, of course the wire bundle. Of course the wire bundle would happen to be coming out where the giant bundle of foam comes down. So I have to figure out, there's a couple wires that are not acceptably located right there, these ones. I need to relocate them under the pack. And then we're gonna come up under just like this. Now you guys are probably watching this and just thinking, you know, there's more than one way to skin this cat, and the way you're doing it is really dumb. I agree, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and my way might be totally stupid on this, but I guess at this point, I'm just trying to kind of get it together so that we can see if the thing works. Mm-hmm. And that's really where we are right now. We're just trying to get the thing put together. Well, it's together. Okay. So now we need to bind this thing. Throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, transmitter is prepared.
Do you have to, are you going to create a model or not yet?
I don't know. I think I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to leave this in this general position how it is. I'm just going to kind of stick this battery in here all the way forward. And then I'm going to really carefully just kind of just do this. Come on. This one's being challenging to plug in because the IC is not lining up well with the XT. Okay, so it's plugged in now. I'm pressing the bind while holding this up. Or wait, I'm gonna press it. It's in a flat, it's flashing fast. Now it's slow flashing. Now I'm turning this on while holding. Okay, so it's green and it's bound. There's the rudder. I was correct in my assessment. Ailerons. Elevator is moving, but it's not hooked up. Rudder is moving, but not hooked up. Flaps, flaps. They're actually going the right direction too. Now, for the sake of safety, throttle cut is on. Now it's off. Throttle cut's on and retested. Okay, so we're safe-ish. That was relatively simple, actually. And when I say relatively simple, there's still quite a few things that could have gone wrong and they didn't. So I commend Dynam for making that part really good. And to be honest with you guys, I gotta say something. As much crap as I'm giving Dynam about making the assembly part way harder than it has to be, and it is, I can say that these receivers have actually been pretty easy to set up. Now, are they as good as the competitors out there? I'm not going to say that they're better. I'm not going to say that they're a lot worse. I am going to say that they do what they say they're going to do, which is stabilize and auto level. They don't auto level quite as good as the safe receivers, but the safe receivers are quite a bit more expensive. So that being said, we have a little bit of work. We have to hook up this linkage here to the rudder first. So I'm just going to grab this and move the control surface over and spin that into the hole. Okay. So now keeping in mind that our glue is still kind of not super set. Okay, so we're going to tighten this.
Yes, I hear it. What is it?
It's just the ticking from the, if you guys hear that noise, that's the way the stabilizer works.
Oh.
So if you're hearing that noise, don't worry, it's not about to blow up. Well, I don't think it is.
Not yet.
Okay, so now same thing with this. We have to do the elevator. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip the plane over. We still have some assignments to do. How are we doing on battery life for the camera crew?
We're probably getting close to being out.
Huh?
We're probably getting close. I don't have our 5% warning yet, but.
Okay, so here's the elevator linkage. So okay, so far so good. So I'm just going to pull that down, line that up. I have to loosen this screw a little bit. See that glue joint? It's kind of lifting a little bit. You do need to help keep me accountable on that there, camera crew, so we don't forget to check that. That's a pretty good amount of throw. I would say that's appropriate to start. I would also say that the rudder throw is appropriate to start. I typically run my rudder throws higher than is required, but then I can just tame it with Expo. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be true on this plane, but it's true on many of my planes. Okay, so now that we have all that done, we are like just scarily close to being done with this plane. Obviously, the control surfaces all need to be centered.
Watch your tail.
You see this? Look at that. That's like way down. You see that? Mm-hmm. What the heck is going on with that? Oh, the control surface, look. See, this thing, it's glued, but it's down. I don't know if you guys could see that.
Oh.
You see that? The glue is ineffective. So we got to fix that right now. So China glue it is. So we'll use the China glue to fix that.
Did you put your glue away already?
Yeah. I haven't marked today's date, so I know which China glue to use because we have lots of different tubes of it. If you guys are wondering what China glue is, it's basically, if you want to buy it from my links below, I have it listed as mucilage, but it's in a big tube. Obviously, it comes from Hobby King. Or you can buy foam to foam, the letter or the number 2. That's the competitive product. Then UMH Pour, I believe, is supposed to be the same. I have never used it, so don't use it on account of my recommendation because I've never used it. And I don't want you guys to get stuff that I've never used because then if it doesn't work well, then you're gonna blame me for it. Okay, so I'm just kind of going to town on that with quite a bit of glue actually. Probably a little bit more than I would have tried to put in there if I was under full control of it. See this? Just kind of challenging to get the glue in there. So now I'm just going to work this to keep the glue out of the sensitive areas. Nobody wants glue in their sensitive areas.
Always a good idea.
So now let's look at the other one. My guess is it's also got the same problem. Let's just actuate the flaps. Huh. Yep, it's, I don't trust it, so I'm gonna re-glue it. Yeah, that's, sounds like we're overdriving the servos a little bit, eh?
The servo is not happy about that.
So we'll just get that nice and tacky up in there. That was a better way of doing it, by the way, folks.
Yeah, just take the whole thing out.
Yeah, just pull it out. Stick it back in, pull it out.
That's this one.
What? Oh, why are those things tied together?
That's a good question. I was hoping to not have to answer.
Okay, so hold on a second. So I want to just make sure. The ailerons move. Why are the flaps tied to the ailerons? We're going to have to figure that out here in a minute. I was so excited about how easy this radio setup was going. That's what you get for saying something, Brian. Yep. Looks like the steerable nose gear assembly is pretty decent. I've been hearing people saying that Dynam has got crappy retracts and stuff like that for years. And to be honest, I used to have the turbojet, and it was one of my favorite planes, by the way. Definitely a project plane, but one of my favorites, and legitimately one of my favorites. This is a gorgeous plane. But that plane had issues with retracts. So I believe the people saying stuff about it. So this isn't very straight compared to the rudder. The rudder is somewhat straight. But this one's going to have to get centered up a little bit. The only way to center that one up is to center it on the servo, I think. See how much out of whack it is? Okay, well, let's leave the flaps in this neutral kind of middle condition here. And let's figure out what's going on with the tie between the flaps and the ailerons. Wow, it's correcting in the right direction. So when I move this up, I want that to go up, up, down, up. Okay, now look at the elevator. When I move this tail up, it should go up, up, down. When I move this, the rudder should go towards you. Rudder towards you, away from you. That's correct. Okay, so all the axes are working in the right directions on the stabilizer. That's pretty sweet. But we need to make an assignment so we can control whether the gyro is on or off. The stabilizer is currently being controlled. The reason that the ailerons are tied to the flaps is that they're not tied at all. What's happening is the stabilizer is coming off and the auto leveling is going on, and I was upside down. So I was attempting to right the craft. So watch. Flaps on. Trying to find the quickest route to home, okay? So when you're out of that mode, you don't have the problem. So now let's look at the transmitter together. So now when I go to, oops. So these are all the gains. Mounting face up, wing type normal. Wait. Oh, okay, cool. Oops, that was exit. Those are the different modes.
5% battery.
Okay. So position 1 is going to be gyro. So here's aerobatic, auto recovery, and normal. I can't get it to go to the other position. Here we go. So whatever's set to SB, I want to see it and figure out what it is. So SB is on auxiliary 1. So auxiliary 1 is currently controlling the flaps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change, I'll just switch my port. That'll be the easiest way to fix that. Because then auxiliary 1 can stay auxiliary 1 and I don't have to change it. So I'll just go to auxiliary 2 with my flaps. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then that'll free up my ability to control the flaps independently of the mode. So now when I do this, that's my different modes. That's gear. Okay. All right, so come back over here. So now I need auxiliary 2 to be on SB. Okay, and then I need auxiliary 1 to be on probably SA. No, I want that to be SD. Okay, now what else is on SD right now? And that's also on SD, which I don't care about because we're not using it. Okay, so that's a dual rates and expo. Okay, so elevator, up, down, rudder, left, right, steerable is correct. Roll left, roll right. And then of course, flaps, 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 mode. Okay, so now I need to set my modes. So now we can go back into the menu. Oops. And we can scroll down to function set. Where is that, hon? Do you remember?
Oh, I do not yet.
It's under function set. No, it's not. It's a model set? No. All right, guys, sorry we ran out of battery. Big surprise. Dynam surprise. So what we did was I worked out the issue we were having with the assignment of channels. I'll talk to you about that for a minute. And I actually just glued this in with China glue. It worked out really nice. And so it's nice and solid in there. And then you can see where the wires are. Why are you on that side, camera crew? See this? I took two these aren't Q-tips, what are these?
Toothpicks.
Toothpicks to hold the wires off to the side, and we just bound them up. So that way when things move, there's no risk of anything hitting, and everything seems solid there, which is really good. Obviously the battery is all the way forward. We haven't checked the CG yet, so we're gonna do that in a minute. I had to, as you may have remembered, we had to re-glue the hinges because our flaps were dropping. If your flaps are low, that's because the hinge point is dropping. Once you glue them, they'll stay up there in the proper position. So one thing you can do is you can deploy the hinges, or you can deploy the flaps to the middle position. It seems to help the pressure on that to be neutral. So I want to show you what we did here. Also, just to give you an idea, this does go in here nicely, and it fits perfectly fine, so that's really nice. The lights look great, really happy with the lights. This plane has really come together nicely given that we had such frustration at the beginning. The landing gear don't seem to be super robust, but I'm sure they'll be fine. It's a light plane, it's got low wing loading, so it should be okay. So let's show the people at home what we did here. I made my assignment, model parameter, airplane gyro, mode switch. See how it's got 3 now? That's because I assigned it to SE. So you can change it from normal to gyro off, normal, auto recovery, or aerobatic. So we're gonna do normal, which is like stabilizer on. And then we're gonna go to, you have to move the switch to the position you want. It's the only time in the menu structure where you have to do that. So that's super awesome. Sorry, that's shooting in my eyes, the reflection. So aerobatic is the other setting we're gonna have, and then we're gonna have auto recover, which is like safe, okay? So it's working now. If you show the people, I don't know why it's going up like this, but it evidently thinks this is home position, right? Here, I must have been at an angle or something when I started it, but that's okay. It'll be fine for what we're doing. So I'm gonna hit exit and I'll go back to, oh man, it's glaring right in my eyes. I can't handle it, sorry.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back to the function set, and then I'll show you what I did here. Auxiliary 1, I ended up putting the flaps back into auxiliary 1, which worked good on SB, which is up here, okay? Then I went auxiliary 2, I set to SE, which is over here. And then auxiliary 3 we're not really using, so I just left it on SE. And that's what gave me the 3 settings within the gyro menu. So also you'll notice this is at 62%, and we just put brand new batteries in it. So that's probably not gonna bode well for the battery life of 4 AA's. So hopefully you can get some really high milliamp hour rechargeable AA sized batteries. So the only thing we haven't done for radio setup is just basically looking at the CG as it pertains to the battery pack. So I am going to go ahead and take the flaps to their neutral position. Now I can do a servo delay on that too, which might be kind of nice. So let's do that real quick. So we're going to go into the other thing too is the model parameter. Oh crap, which channel is that? Auxiliary 1. Is it 6? Yeah.
Probably.
There's 15. So that's pretty good. So that's like 1 second. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Yeah, so it's about 2 seconds. So I'll do that. I might do a little bit slower or a little bit faster. Okay, so there's our delay. So we'll go back on that. Now, there is a mix. Enter. Let's see if there's anything here. Veer to elevator. I don't know what that means. Flapper on mix. Let's try this. I don't know what that's supposed to do. Yeah, so I'm not going to do that. Let's try program a mix. Key mix 1. On. The master is going to be flaps. Auxiliary 1, that's flaps. Well, hold on, let's see if we have flaps in here. Nope, it's just auxiliary 1. Then the slave is going to be elevator. And the relative rate is 100. So now look. So this is up, then neutral, then down. Okay, so that's obviously not going to work. So rate 1 is going to be probably 0. Let's set it to 30 because it takes so long. And then rate 2 is going to be... Now look at that. I don't see that it's changing as much now, so that's good. So we're learning how that works. So there's takeoff flaps and landing flaps. Okay, so we have a correction factor. So if I have the elevator working and I do that, if I push down on them, it goes down. When I pull back on this, see, that's, you only want it to work one direction. So I don't think we have a sophisticated enough mix on here to do this. So basically, I am going to turn that off. Okay, so now that we've established that we can't do that, we should be done on everything with the exception of checking the CG. So the CG at this point, the battery is where I think it's gonna need to be. I'm just gonna verify the throttle cut. It is working throttle hold. So I have the 2200 milliamp 3S Gen 2 Smart Pack all the way forward right now. I'm just gonna probably at some point I'll take and stuff in a piece of foam or something that keeps that, because it's actually not tight right now. So let's just see if that's right. That'd be sweet if it was. I doubt it's gonna be right. It'd really kind of make my day because I'd like to be done with this. That looks pretty perfect to me. My fingers are right between those two holes. That's pretty good. I like it. Okay, so really guys, without further ado, hopefully this thing flew much, much better than it went together. My guess is it will. I've never flown a T-28 that flew bad, and I'm really excited to see this one up in the air because I really do like the way it looks. I like that it comes with flaps and retracts. That is really important to me personally, but it's not important to everybody. And so, you know, I think at this point, the only thing I got to do is just finagle this just so it's a little bit tighter. I just need a little something to block in there. So what I might do is while I'm off camera, it's a little hard to undo those. You can see my glue is holding on to that really good now. So I can barely shift it. I was just trying to flatten it out a little bit. So one thing I might do is while we're off camera, I might actually intentionally glue this in here just to give me something to hang on to. The other thing I could do is I could slide that all the way to its position where it needs to be, and I could actually glue there so it just has no way of falling out easily, except it still can, you see? So I think the better way to do it would be to split this in half and then make a symmetrical
wedge.
Yeah, something that we can wedge in there. So I'm gonna play with that a little bit. I think you guys will see it right at the beginning of the video. So if you guys wanna help support the channel, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, good Lord, that was a long video. It was really frustrating to put together, I'm sure. And you'd be right. But we really do love doing this stuff for you. Just some of the models are a lot more taxing on us than others. So what can we do to help you guys in return for putting together these videos that you guys enjoy? Really, watching the videos is a big factor. Definitely like them if you enjoyed them in any way. If you enjoyed watching me struggle and have a lack of success, definitely like the video. Also, if you really want to help support us, the best thing you can do is watch the videos and like and subscribe. Click the bell to get notifications so that you know when we put out new footage, which is pretty frequent. We're usually once a week, if not a couple times a week. This here, if you want to buy it, you'll be supporting us if you buy this from the links that we provide in the description below. If you don't know if you like this plane and you want to buy another Dynam, then basically we have links to BitGo Hobby, and you can follow that link and buy anything on there, and you'll be helping support us. The other thing too is obviously we have generic links for Horizon Hobby, the Magic Home, for the cat tree and other furniture that we'll review at some point in the future. And then we also have Amazon links that are generic, and Titan attachments. So we review some of that stuff for our farm and, you know, runway care and snow clearing, things like this. That's all on there. Those are the master links at the top of our list in the description below. But there's also specific items at the top that are pertaining to the video we did today. Whatever video you're watching, if you jump on there, we'll link to this particular transmitter, unless of course it gets discontinued at some point in the future, and then sometimes we'll go in and put in an acceptable replacement. But generally the plane that we're talking about is going to be right up at the top of the list, so you don't have to search for it. And if you find that you maybe watching this video was like, you know what, I actually don't like that, I want to buy another plane that you've reviewed, just look in the playlists and you can see our entire list of planes or projects. And then some of the projects are pretty lengthy, like 50, 60 videos in there. Or like building this house. Like we have a video series about building this house. It's mostly a step-by-step process. We have videos about building bridges. We have a lot of content on this channel. So if you're new to the channel and you didn't realize that, please check out the playlist. It's gonna give you a good once-over of what's available. There is a lot of planes, but there's a lot more than just planes. So if you wanna watch any of that, definitely check. And the biggest thing you could do for us on an immediate, you know, right now, definitely click the like button. You'll help to get us out there in front of the YouTube audience. You'll help to generate a little bit more traffic for us. And that's really what drives our channel. If you want to help support us financially, buy from the links when you are buying. And we really appreciate you guys doing those things. It definitely helps our channel. And we have found success because you're here, not because we're amazing. It's just because you guys keep coming back to watch. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. This plane was a Bearcat to put together, so I'm hoping it flew good. Without further ado, come back for more. Thanks for watching, guys.